Anyone here excited for ModCon? I'm just here, guys. I just thought I'd unmute the microphone. Anybody here interested in ModCon? I think that's a thing that's happening today, right? Maybe? Someone say ModCon? Yeah, I know, right? Can you believe it starts in 1 minute? Can you guys believe that? Isn't that crazy? In fact, less than a minute, really, because it's already 8:59 PDT, which is my time zone, and we're starting at 9 AM PDT, which is like, I think it's in like literally a couple seconds. It's actually like right now. Wow. Hold on a minute. How did that possibly happen? Take off the AFK stuff. Where are we at? Hold on a minute. Boom. Look at that. Look at that, boys. It's ModCon. It's ModCon day 2. Also, that chat box is really small. Forgive me. Let me just make that a little bigger. Okay. Is everyone excited? It's ModCon time. Woohoo! Yay! Let me put up the schedule. Also, check out this crazy cog. You see this? Isn't this a beautiful cog? Beautiful, isn't it? Thanks to the organizers for making that for me. It looks wonderful. Although, I had to crop it. I had to make it line up. Regardless, here is today's schedule. This is what we got today. Isn't that beautiful? Today, we have Imperator Rome. Okay? Big stuff for the Imperator heads. Also, for those wondering about the music, I'm playing Dwarf Fortress soundtracks. It's really, really nice. But we've got an intro, which is what I'm doing right now. We've got the Imperator Invictus trailer. We've got Gift of the Nile, Imperatrix Victoria. Lots of really, really ambitious and cool mods. But before we even get into all that, okay, forgive me if I'm being a little bit disorganized. You'll have to bear with me, because I am nervous, just like JBD was, and he's a much better presenter than I am. We got to talk about something important, and that is, of course, the WMF. The World Monuments Fund is the charity that we're supporting today, and the other days as well, which have to do with preserving the various monuments and sites of the world which have come under threat due to, you know, just stuff. I mean, you know, who knows? War, disrepair, governments that don't care, things like that. If you want to support the World Monuments Fund, it would be greatly appreciated by us. So please, please do. Keep in mind, these monuments provide really good modifiers in EU4 in a lot of cases. So you want the monuments to stay around because you want those great work modifiers. I'm just joking. You want them around because they're, of course, great pieces of creation that humanity has put together. But, you know, only donate, of course, if you have the resources to support. You know, be nice, but you don't have to be too horribly nice that you ruin your own life. Regardless, we'll talk more about them a little bit later. For now, I think we probably should look at a trailer pretty soon. But I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing here. I think we're good. I think I covered at my bases. We're giving out keys later today. Chapter 4 keys. Full Chapter 4. Can you believe that? That's an insane content. Thank you, Paradox, for that. But thank you, Paradox, so much. Okay. But I think y'all didn't come here to see me. Okay, look, I know some people enjoy my presence, a lot don't. I'm joking around. But some people enjoy my presence, some don't. I think instead of me yapping forever, let's go ahead and play the first trailer. Okay, we're gonna mute Dwarf Fortress while we do that. And we'll play the first trailer. Today, first up, we've got Invictus. And yes, join the giveaway there. All you have to do is submit your Discord username. Anyway, here's trailer number 1 for today, boys and girls and everyone else. what you just saw, in case anyone here doesn't know, allow me to talk a little bit about Imperator Invictus. Because it's a mod that's so big, there's no way that I can possibly present to you all the information about it that exists. There's so much. So much. If you haven't played Imperator before, you might be at least aware of its reputation as that game that Paradox canceled that was actually really good, but then was really bad when it came out, but then it became good later, but then it was too late and they got rid of it. But the Invictus team, Invictus meaning undefeated or invincible, as the English etymology goes, is evidence that even something which Paradox has abandoned can still be beautiful in the hands of the right modders. But yeah, Invictus is just so big, I can't even describe to you everything it does. There's too much, okay? They need to go to the Invictus team and tell them to cut half the game, okay? Because there's too much in it. I've tried playing it. I've actually played it pretty extensively, to be honest. I've played like 3 or 4 nations, okay? Like that's all. And I didn't even finish all their content, and there's still more to do, okay? There's still more. Yeah, pretty insane. Pretty absolutely insane. I think it's a wonderful mod, and the team there is really good as well. Thanks so much, Invictus, for coming on to ModCon. Looking forward to your next update. I'll probably play it. In fact, I'm pretty certain that I will play it. But that's not all. Oh yeah, Dwarf Fortress music, by the way. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, that's not all that we have, though, because there's still more, okay, for Invictus, for the Invictus section. Okay, don't forget to check out Invictus on the workshop and on Discord. I believe either it's a pinned message on YouTube chat or some moderator is going to put it in chat, but check out the Discord and their Steam Workshop and everything. Biggest live playthrough when? I've done it before. I could do another one. Maybe. I played all the way to like 200 using the extended timeline submod. But before I go on a tirade about my experience with Invictus, okay, let's look at even more Imperator mods. The next one is Gift of the Nile, which is a mod all about... I wonder if you can guess what it's all about. I wonder if you can make a guess. In case you're having trouble figuring out what Gift of the Nile might be about, let's go ahead and watch an informative trailer.
What is this? Some sort of Gift of the Nile?
Wow. What an ending. What a beautiful ending. That skipped to the Nile. And I got you guys, because I said, can you guess what it's about? And you probably would have said, oh, it's about Egypt. But no, it's actually about a lot more than that. It's an alternative history mod where Alexander the Great, as was mentioned in the trailer, Alexander the Great becomes Alexander the Mid, and in fact does not conquer the known world. What a crazy alternative timeline that would be. And it includes many other alternative histories that are, including things like they mentioned the Numidians, things like Rome being taken over by the Etruscans. I'm not sure if Alexander the Great's conquest would have caused those things to happen, but regardless, it's a very interesting, very, very interesting alternate history. An excellent mod. It's got an update. It might actually be releasing, or it's an update, I'm not sure. Coming out tonight. I do not know the exact time. I've been told it is tonight. Now, for me, it's currently 9 in the morning. So I don't know if that means like tonight my time or tonight who knows what time. But sometime today, it's coming out. And if you want to know more information, you should go check out the Discord and the Steam Workshop if they have one. Moderators, feel free to link it in the chat, or you can scroll down to the description of the stream. I have everything linked there as well. Anyone that misses the links that get dropped in chat, feel free, of course, to check them out in the description. They're all there. By the way, there's the music again. I keep forgetting to do that. Noob streamer. Okay, noob streamer. It is what it is. But, yeah. Excellent looking mod. The trailer was beautiful. I gotta say, I gotta hire that guy for my editor, okay? I've been looking for an editor. I gotta get that guy. Someone get me in contact. Oh wait, I'm in contact. I'm just joking around. But yeah, excellent mod. The Imperator community continues to impress forever, but the next mod that we have coming, Imperatrix Victoria, is somehow even more ambitious. Even huger. It's been worked on for years, okay? Now this one, I wonder if you can guess what it's about. It's called Imperatrix Victoria. Maybe you can figure it out. But maybe it's a bait like the Gift of the Nile was. Who knows? Pretty big mod though. Let's go ahead and watch that one now. Give me 1 second here. Here it comes. Cinema. Am I right, chat? Someone said absolute cinema when I said it. That's crazy. But dude, can you believe that they made Victoria 4? Can you believe that after Victoria 3 came out, the Imperator Rome developers we're like, let's just make Victoria 4. Can you believe that? Imperatrix coming out before GTA 6? Probably. But yeah, that one's not coming out until I don't know when, but 2025. It's going to be a bit, guys. I think it's going to be a little while. Ancient Roman mod for Vicky? That'd be crazy, dude. Imagine that. That'd be something. Turns out, by the way, in my nervousness, we've actually kind of gone a little bit too fast. We have like 9 minutes forward behind schedule. Now, being ahead of time is fine. But what I want to talk about now, since we have the opportunity, is a little bit more about the World Monument Foundation, okay? You guys, every year that we do ModCon, we try to raise money for a charity. And I'm just saying, okay, every year we've raised more money than the previous year. We got to raise even more this year, okay? So please feel free to donate some money. Okay, that'd be really, really awesome. Because part of what makes modding so great is you get to feel smug about it. I'm joking. I'm just messing with you. I got you. You get to feel good about it is the proper term. And it's nice to feel good because you make the mod and that's good and all. But imagine making mods and then people also contribute to a good cause because of it. Feels great, doesn't it? But yeah. How are we feeling about Imperator overall, chat? Because we still have a couple minutes here before I'm going to start the Fallen Eagle stuff, which I'm sure all of you are very excited for. CK3 is a big pull, of course. But Imperator Rome, who here plays it? A lot of people here playing it, because I sure hope you are. It's an amazing game, especially with those mods that we showed. Truly an amazing game. I wish one day Paradox would pick it back up, but, you know, it is what it is. Maybe one day. But, you know, while we have Snowlit doing Invictus along with the team, there's no need for Paradox to come back in, man. But yeah, thanks so much to those that have already donated. Really appreciate it. And I hope you guys are enjoying everything so far. I didn't turn the music back on again, but you know, that's just me. What can I do? I'm just so unskilled. You know what I should do is I should have set up a thing where it like auto unmutes when I change scenes, but whatever. Who cares, right? Regardless, we can be a little bit ahead of time. That's okay. It gives us more time for the Fallen Eagle interview. So let's go ahead and play the Fallen Eagle trailer in just a moment here. Thank you so much for the donation off Destiny, much appreciated. But yeah, only 700 hours in Imperator. I'm a pleb. True, real, very real. For those who don't know the Fallen Eagle, by the way, again, this is one of those mods where I would expect that pretty much all of you know about it. But it's a mod for CK3 which moves the game away from the medieval era into the late antiquity. Which, for those who don't know what late antiquity is, that's kind of like the Roman Empire has been split in half and is collapsing, and the barbarians, we also call them Germans sometimes, among other groups, are moving into those new areas to settle in, you know, what remains of the Roman Empire and taking it over slowly. It's a transition away from the sort of unified bureaucracy of Roman control over Europe and more towards the rise of medieval feudal kingdoms, because each of these warlords is going to establish themselves and create these little realms that stay together. Some fall apart, but it's a mod all about that particular era, a very interesting era, and one which doesn't receive a lot of coverage in terms of games. I don't know. What are there any good late antiquity games out there? I'm trying to think of them. What, like Total War Attila, I guess? Attila's not even... Is Attila late antiquity? Dude, I don't even know anything about history. But, you know, you don't see a lot of games about it, so it's nice to see some mods about it. But regardless, let's go ahead and watch the trailer. And while I watch the trailer, I'm going to frantically prepare for the interview. Because guess what, guys? We have an interview with the developers today. Isn't that exciting? I'm very excited for that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started on that. Let's check out the trailer.
Hello, my name is Stefan. I'm a modder on the Fallen Eagle team. Today, we want to go over what we've done in the past year and also give you a preview of our future content. Since last year's ModCon, we've worked hard to integrate many new features from the DLCs and free updates into the Fallen Eagle. For instance, the Roman Empire now uses the administrative government introduced with the Roads to Power DLC, but we've retained aspects of our old Roman government, such as the Senate and the Latin government, so you still get a flavor of late antique. More recently, we've integrated Vanilla's nomadic government and Great Steppe situation to replace our existing nomad mechanics, as well as the new tributary system. We've also added a lot of new content this past year, such as our Egypt and Nubia flavor pack, called After the Pharaohs. We added plenty of new immersive features based on meticulous research into the history of the Nile River, such as a new doctrine for Kemetic faiths to unlock different patron gods, and a pilgrimage to the Aswan temples we integrated from the Rise mod, among other things. The update also added a new bookmark in 361 AD with interesting characters like Amani Pilade, the last known ruler of the Kingdom of Kush. Besides this, we've made some map and terrain adjustments, added new cultures and faiths, fixed a lot of bugs, and much more.
Greetings, Sir Thomas Payne, scholar on the Fallen Eagle team. I'm here to talk to you about what's coming next for the Fallen Eagle. The Fallen Eagle team has been hard at work on our Rise of Islam update, which features a new start date in the 632 bookmark. Many of us were busy in real life over the past few years, so while we can't show you much yet, rest assured we're working hard on setting up different realms, faiths, and cultures, collecting a list of historical figures and family trees, and developing new mechanics. We want to give you a sneak peek at some of our conceptual plans. Please note, they were much so a work in progress. The final product might be very different. One cannot talk about the Rise of Islam bookmark without Arabia, which would be an interesting place to play in 632. The most powerful realm is obviously the Rashidun Caliphate, but in the aftermath of the Prophet's death, the Caliphate will have to deal with other warlords in Arabia, such as the false prophet Musaylima, or the tribes who are the lackeys of the Roman or Persian empires. The year 632 is also an interesting time for the Sassanid Empire. After the Roman Emperor Heraclius defeated the Sassanids, the King of Kings Khosrau II was killed in 628, leading to an ongoing civil war. Can he reunite Persia before the Caliphate begins its attack? Although the focus of the 632 start date be on the Caliphate in the Persian and Roman empires, we're also doing what we can for the rest of the map too, including regions of the world whose history is often underappreciated. For instance, we are working on an accurate setup for North and West Africa. Alrighty friends, that concludes the Fallen Eagle showcase for this year's ModCon. We thank you fans of the past half decade who have supported us and shared with us a love for the underrated world of the late antiquity. We're happy to see you enjoy our new content from the past year and are excited to share more with you about the 632 start date as development continues. Until then, have a great day and enjoy the rest of ModCon.
Damn, guys, damn. Sorry for the lag during the trailer, by the way. I had to launch CK3 because, you know, we're doing the live interview, so of course I'm going to be looking at the game as we play, or as we talk, I mean. But, you know, launching the game caused a little bit of lag. Look, my computer isn't the best, okay? Sorry for that. I feel bad now for kind of... I should have maybe had the game launched beforehand, but I hope that you were able to enjoy the trailer anyway. Okay, I hope you were able to enjoy the trailer. But I've got the mod team in a Discord call right now. I'm deafened, so they can't hear me and I can't hear them. We're going to talk to them in just 1 second, okay? I just want to make sure that I have my sources correct when it comes to showing... I want to show off like the Discord call as we have it. So just give me like 1 second here. Thankfully, we're ahead of time. So that means I can waste time on technical things like this. So I think I can just go like this and then show Discord. Okay, that's going to show off my Discord. That's okay. I don't have anything to hide, guys. It's all right. Let's just, you know, forgive the jank nature of this. I forgot to do this beforehand, or else I would have. But at least you can see the developers in there, right? Look at that. Isn't that cool? And let me also get the game open too, like the game source. Totally just leaked my Discord, guys. It's so over for me. Secrets revealed. I know, right? Thankfully, though, I genuinely don't really have anything to hide on there, so I'm not worried. Let's also add the game, and I think it's loaded by now. Let me see, because I will say, guys, okay, my computer's not the worst thing ever, but it's definitely not the fastest thing. Yeah, see, it's still loading. You're gonna have to bear with me here, guys, because it's gonna take me a minute to load the game. But while we're waiting, okay, first of all, let me get my camera back up here. And let's talk to the developers while we're waiting, because it is going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute. But yeah, here we go. We're going to undeafen now. If I can. Hello. Computer's having trouble, guys. Hello, Fallen Eagle team.
Hello.
Let's see. You should be hearable now. Yes, I have unmuted you for the stream.
Great.
Hello.
Okay. Hello, people. Hello. Yes.
Can you
Everyone okay on stream? Let me know if they're too loud or too quiet. People that are watching the stream, just feel free to spam it in chat. I'm sure the moderators will love it if you do that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. How about we start with some introductions? Let's just go like left to right in the Discord avatars there. So I think that's CybrixCon first, right?
Yes, I'm CybrixCon. I'm one of the lead devs for the Fallen Eagle. I've been involved with this group of folks for a few years now. Originally, I was just helping them with some collab stuff with my Rice mod and this mod, but somehow I got pulled in, and now I'm a developer for some reason.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and how about the next person? I'm not who is this? I'm not familiar with who that is. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Marshall NSC. Been on the team for a couple of years as well now. And yeah, I just kind of started because I was looking for a way to get involved in modding. Started with, not the best code. You can essentially still see my first code that I did for the Fallen Eagle if you go over and play Axum and try to build a monument. But well, now it's become a much larger commitment for me than just that.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And how about our last member of the dev team that's present? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Stefan, or Ursafkiller is my username, and I make mostly playtesting, and I have help with integrating the admin government system to the Fallen Eagle.
Very cool, very cool. You're all, I'm sure, essential parts of the team, and it's a great pleasure to speak to all of you. I guess I wanted to ask, we'll take questions from chat, of course, as they come up, so feel free to put them in chat, and you guys, the developers, feel free to look out for the questions that you want to answer. But yeah, we saw a pretty big announcement there, which was, of course, adding the new start date, which includes the rise of Islam. Geez, where to start? How did you guys go about doing the research? Like, that's what I'm curious about. What's where did you begin?
There's a lot to cover with any of our start dates. I think that's why we don't have a lot of start dates. I think that was a intentional design choice from the original developers of the mod to have a few start dates we can devote a lot of attention to rather than just have too many start dates with only a little bit of stuff here and there. But we're very lucky that we have a lot of very good researchers on the team with academic backgrounds. Like some of them are actually like PhD students or have no actual scholars. So we have people who specialize in stuff like obviously like Rome or Persia, but also some lesser known places too, like India, Africa, Central Asia. So they provide us a lot of helpful information, and some of us also can call too, because I'm also sometimes like helping with research, so I know a bit about random parts of the world, and I help kind of add some stuff there.
Okay, really, really cool. Yeah, I'm a total nerd, so I love to ask about things like research. But were there any questions that you guys saw in the chat that you felt like answering right away?
Let's see.
That seems like perhaps not. That's totally okay. But I wonder. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, someone asked whether Khalid ibn al-Walid would be playable in 632, and I believe that's the name of the their most famous general for the conquest or expansion from Arabia, right? And so currently in the Fallen Eagle, as I'm sure many are aware, we do have a 632 event that pops up. It's quite far in advance of most of our bookmarks, where Islam will spawn and we'll have the Prophet in Arabia, but nothing too much after that. And we are actively looking for, in the 632 bookmark, to expand upon that, maybe make it a little bit more historical. And but currently in the mod, we do have his companions also spawn with him. And we are planning on looking at whether or not we could make perhaps some landless playables with the advent of adventurers and with noble families and all of these new ways that Paradox has made other characters that may not have been landed playable.
Very cool, very cool. Okay. What I was going to ask before was, like, this mod, of course, features the Roman Empire pretty centrally, or rather the fall of the Roman Empire, we could say. Are there other regions of the map, though, that you think are like a good spot to play in terms of just whatever start date you want to pick? I see you have 4 of them, by the way, very impressive. But any favorite spots on the map?
There's a lot of. I think one of the really cool thing about this mod's development is that since our team is like a very diverse background of like interest and expertise, there's a lot of like random little things that, and all over the map, it's the kind of thing where it's like, if you happen to be one of like the 10 people in the world with like scholarly expertise on this area, you're like, oh hey, they added that random person. So for me, I really enjoy like the Silk Road kind of parts of the map, like Central Asia, Eastern Iranian world. That's also kind of where a bit my history degree background is in. So I added some more obscure characters, literally people like who only show up in like one academic paper because they found some like old coin that king minted and no one else remembers them. But yeah, I guess one person that might be interesting point is like we mentioned it in the video, in our 361 start date, we actually have one of the bookmark characters. It's Queen Amanipulade, possibly the last known queen of the Empire of Kush. If she was even a queen, and if she was even a she, we're not even 100% sure in her gender, or if she was an actual ruler, or if she was just a warlord that appropriated royal imagery. But she's a playable character, and she's a very interesting situation because you're literally like the last known ruler of this ancient empire that lasted for more than 1,000 years, stood toe to toe with Egypt and Persia and Rome, and now you're just this like tiny ruler in the decrepit, decaying part of the map.
Yeah, I just went into the game to go take a look at her, and this is one of the start dates that Fallen Eagle features. We see a pretty full Roman Empire this early on, but of course it is destined to fail. One thing I'm curious about, I have not played the Fallen Eagle extensively. I have launched it in the past, played it for a little bit, looked at everything beautiful on it, but I've not really sat down and like played it before. Did you find that it was like difficult to kind of model the collapse of an empire in CK3 with how it's made?
Yeah, so basically right now, the way we model it is sort of with, we have our own imperial competence system and imperial edicts and policies. So as the Roman emperor, you have 3 separate main competencies. You have the military competency, civil competency, and diplomatic competency. You can find that in the law section. And so basically, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, army size, knights, unprotected borders, how much your vassals like you, how much money you're making, what's the development level across the empire, and all of that goes into your civic, military, or diplomatic competence, which then allows you, if you raise it, to implement beneficial policies for your empire. Now, the flip side of that is the fall, right? So if the competence gets lowered to 0 for 2 of them, then parts of the empire will break off. And if all three go down to 0, then the empire will be destroyed. Then you'll have the gear shifts happen, where the Roman Empire will have to be reconstituted again via decision. Now, it's not particularly, exactly historically accurate to have these sorts of breakpoints, and we are actively looking at ways of maybe modeling with, the new admin government having competence tied to governor efficiency, for example. But it's a very difficult balance because, what happens in history is often not easily translatable into the game, especially if you want to keep some semblance of game balance. You don't want to have just vicious cycles where you can't get out of them, right? And you also don't want to make it not fun for the player, even if it's more historical that way. So that's definitely some trade-offs we have to think about.
For sure, yeah, for sure. Sorry to just basically spend this interview highlighting old mechanics in the game, because I'm sure you guys want to talk about all the new stuff. I was just curious because I like to ask questions, but I saw
Yeah.
a lot of questions come in from the chat. A lot of them about some of the stuff that's coming. Did anything catch your guys' eye that you think about answering?
Yeah, so we did. Maybe I'll start. I did see a couple questions about East Asia because big elephant in the room for some of them were historical mods is the Paradox devs are going to add a huge chunk of Asia. So what's going to happen to the mods? So for our plan is that we will include the rest of Asia at some point. We don't have any intention of just staying to our map, but it's going to take a lot of work. Just even doing a crappy job with like a bunch of placeholder characters, that's still going to be a lot of work. But we are in contact with a few other mods that will hopefully help us work with them to hopefully help make this a little easier. So one of them is Routers of Asia. It's one of the current major map expansion mods. We've had frequent contact with them, working together with them. And they have some researchers and members of their team that will have offered to help us with the research and adding, making sure the history in the Asian side map is correct. We're also in contact with some of the members of the community from the Oriental Empires and Eclipse Crown teams. Oriental Empires is another Asia map expansion mod, and Eclipse Crown is a mod that adds in a start date in 724, I believe. But they also have a lot of like knowledge on the Asian side map. So we're hoping that working together with them, because obviously we're also offering them some stuff too, like some of our own code for various things. So hopefully working together, that'll make it a little easier for us to kind of stomach the huge task of adding in the rest of Asia to the map. So, but anyways, yes, we will be adding the rest of Asia to the map. We can't give a timeline when or how that will factor into our plans, if that will affect, like if we're going to do that after, before, or at the same time as the 632 bookmark start date, but it will happen at some point.
Very cool.
And,
very cool.
Yeah, it also someone mentioned about Africa. So as part of that map expansion, we do know that there will be a bit of Africa. We will add that too.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I can see that being very difficult to implement, even like you mentioned, just as a placeholder, because there's just so much to have to do over there. What do you think of the hegemony titles that are kind of being teased in the dev diaries for the All Under Heaven stuff? Like, obviously, the Roman Empire is going to be one. That much is clear. But what are we thinking for like maybe unique stuff for like the Sassanids or something? I see they have a unique government, but are there any plans for like Persia or anything in the future?
Yeah, so something interesting about we're very excited for the hegemony titles. Having a new tier is definitely going to help, especially with the Romans. We're discussing actually whether or not we would then make the keep the Eastern and Western as empires, also make them hegemonies. It's been back and forth since we don't really know exactly how the hegemonies are going to work yet. But something, yes, we're definitely looking forward to for the Romans. As for the Sassanids, I don't think we've had any particular discussions regarding a special hegemony for them. We already do have some unique mechanics for them. For example, we have the 7 Great Houses system, which represents sort of the 7 major players in the Sassanid Empire and sort of their relationship to the emperor. It's in its own separate tab right above the court tab.
Ah, yes, thank you.
And yeah, so basically you have strength and opinion, and there's decisions that you can take with it. I don't think we have any particular plans in making an hegemony specifically just for the Sassanids, but that's something that's interesting that we could think about. But yeah, we're definitely very excited for hegemony, even though the China update is definitely going to be a very. I mean, we're assuming it's going to take a very long time
For
to
sure.
patch that.
Yeah, I was asking you about
About-
Persia because I was curious how it might relate to if you're adding this new start date about the rise of Islam. Of course, both the Romans and the Persians play a pretty big role in that history. So I was definitely I was curious if like when you think about the rise of Islam, I'm assuming you're not just focusing on like the Arabian part of that, right? Or like you have lots of other stuff going on too around them, right?
Yeah, so obviously in a way, at least so far the way it's shaping up, I think there will be a focus for 632 start date. There will be some, hopefully, since it's still very early development, hopefully there's stuff for both, for not just Arabia, but also the Sassanids and the Roman Empire, because all of them are kind of in a very interesting situation at this time, very closely linked. We actually, even like yesterday, some of our researchers were having kind of interesting discussion about how I think not a lot of people realize it, but the rise of Islam did not really happen in a vacuum. For many centuries, even the Romans and Persians were meddling in the peninsula. Right, a lot of the Arab tribes at the time were allied to or serving the Romans or Persians. So, like, we were kind of discussing like kind of the later scholarship on that and how potentially we could somehow try to factor that into the rise of Islam bookmark when that does happen. But I can't promise anything per se right now. But it is something we're kind of thinking about. And even during the bookmark too, in Roman and the Persian empires, we have potential like pretty interesting characters to play. So in Roman Empire, Heraclius, the one who at least supposedly kind of beat the Persian Empire after a long war, but then got beat by the Arabs. And for Persian Empire, you have in 632, it's in the middle of a huge civil war, and that's obviously a very interesting situation to play in if you're playing as Persia. And we'll also kind of hopefully, even though that kind of areas of focus, hopefully we'll be able to add a little bit stuff to other regions as well, because there's also plenty of other interesting characters too on the map during that time period. Like for instance, in Tibet, you have Songtsen Gampo, who was the founder of Tibetan Empire. 632 is very around kind of the start of, or during the middle of his reign, when he's expanding the empire to become the giant it is, one that would be feared by China and the Arabs, right? So which is saying something. And it's also, once we add in the rest of Asia, 632 is also the early days of the Tang Empire, the Tang Dynasty, one of the great dynasties of China. So plenty of interesting stuff around the map, even if our focus, at least at first, will be like Arabia, the Persians, and the Eastern Romans.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Yeah, I think there's a bit of an elephant in the room, of course, when it comes to simulating like the rise of Islam, and that is, of course, like how you would choose to represent like the early sort of Muslim rulers and especially like the Prophet himself. And if you're willing to answer, I of course will offer the question of what are your plans for representing these sort of figures who have a lot of obviously religious not to say superiority, I meant importance, I guess, to them. Like, how do you plan to navigate that, if at all, even?
So first of all, the Prophet, when the way our current Muslim event chain works, when they first appear, the Prophet is unplayable, out of respect to the Muslim player base, and like in vanilla, he's also depicted without the visual depiction like the other characters. We kept the vanilla system. Some of the other important, as Marshall mentioned earlier, some of the important figures from that time period during the early rise of Islam should be playable. But the 632 start date does begin right after the prophet's death. So, and that was also, I mean, the date was also chosen just because that's kind of when things really get interesting for the rise of Islam in the context of the expansion of the caliphate outside of Arabia.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a really good solution to me. I think you're that sounds good to me. I think it's a good idea to start the start date just after the death of the prophet to stop any people from doing anything sus with the character,
Right.
if you could even play as him. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Cool, yeah. We have about 10 more minutes on the interview. So I'm gonna not bog you guys down. I have one thing to say before I'm gonna let you guys kind of say what else you want to say with the last 10 minutes, and that's that the Fallen Eagle is always looking for new modders and coders and anyone that wants to contribute, because it's a gargantuan project, and from what I understand, anyone can be helpful in a modding situation. So you guys, anyone in the chat who thinks they want to maybe learn some modding, or if they have a little bit of experience already, feel free to join the Fallen Eagle Discord and just ask what you can do, or just start doing things and present what you can do, and they'll be happy to take you on. And you guys can confirm that in case I'm just making that up, but I believe that to be true.
Yeah, so I'm in charge of recruiting for the Fallen Eagle, and yes, we are always looking for new scholars, new coders. Especially, we do need to have a lot of coders, in the sense that we're going to have these major updates coming up. We have the 632 bookmark, we have the integration with All Under Heaven, which is not just China, it's also Japan, it's Southeast Asia, it's a lot of different areas, and we're going to need a lot of people coding to get this out, in the semblance of of time. Regarding questions, I did see something I wanted to go over briefly. There are a couple of questions about nomads in chat. And so first one that I saw was something about nomadic hordes, barbarian migrations. And that's something that's already in the Fallen Eagle. Basically, one thing that I experimented with was, for example, when the Huns invade an area. And if the place they invade is a tribal area with the cultural tradition of migration, and the ruler of that area gets subjugated, completely vassalized underneath the Huns, they actually do get an event to option to either stay under the Huns or to migrate west, as historically kind of happened. You saw this historical trend of the Huns would invade an area, and the tribes would then, a lot of them would move out from there, and that would pressure the Romans. So that's something that does happen. There's this small little event chain for that. Now, we're still looking into making that a bit more historical in terms of where they target the Romans for their migrations. But that is something that is already in the mod, as well as various historical migrations like the Alans migrating, and the Goths migrating as well, and the Vandals.
But balancing, at the moment, the nomad government can, I believe, siege Constantinople in 3 months, and we will change that a little.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Regarding the balancing too. I mean, I think you also did some balancing for the noble families, right, with the influence gain and stuff like that.
Was there balancing with influence gain? I don't know. Was that a question to me?
Oh no, I was just mentioning that there was some balance issues with administrative if you spammed dynasty members, so we capped that at a much lower rate. Another thing to mention with tributaries, for example, something was brought up in our server actually just a day or two ago about how you could make the as the Western Roman Empire, Honorius, you could make Arcadius, the Eastern Roman Empire, your tributary very easily. And we looked into that. I looked into that, and it was basically because Paradox had made the threat of implied claims as a war, significantly weight the decision to accept tributary. So we also did nerf that so that you could get the ERE as a tributary as the Western Roman Empire.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think the whole nomad integration is going to be really useful for something like this, because so much of the late antiquity is about the movement of people. And you mentioned like those people that move west when the Huns conquer them and stuff. I think that sort of thing in base CK3 would be pretty cool, because even like you have the Hungarians, like the Magyars when they move into Hungary, or Pannonia, I guess at the time. Like that's an example. I believe that historically, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they were escaping like the Khazars or the Pechenegs, maybe one of those Turkic tribes who was heading west, and so they moved even further west as like a way to escape, right? I think it's a really cool story when I think of stuff like that. And for this mod, it feels like it'd be really fitting when you have all the Germanic peoples moving in. So, yeah, cool stuff. Yeah. Is there any other question that got your attention? We have a couple more minutes here, and then we'll probably move on to the next section. But any last minute questions?
Stefan, you see anything interesting?
Let's see. Oh, so there's a question about the Sasanian government. Is feudal clan their admin? So right now it's sort of we use as the base feudal with its own spin on it. There aren't any estates for them, but that's something definitely was brought up and something that we are considering. It's unfortunate because there's just so many different areas, and it's just a lot of work to just keep up, even with just patching and integration, that we don't have enough coders or time to really work on everything we want to. I know, for example, I have a long list of things I still want to do for the mod. But the Assassins have sort of we're definitely looking at reworking a lot of their mechanics in light of all the new stuff that's going to happen. There was also a question about treasury for Rome, and that's another thing that we are looking at. I believe Paradox mentioned that the new system for Celestial Government is going to be quite modular, with abilities to access stuff with flags in the code. So having a treasury for Rome and other things from Celestial Government we are discussing borrowing some of that if it's possible for the Roman government.
That's cool. You could do I don't know if there's an equivalent, but like the imperial exam that they teased in the dev diaries for the Chinese government. You could have like a Roman exam kind of thing. I don't know if there's such a thing even, but that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Actually, one of our scholars brought up was this classical education system. It was Padaira, I think, or I forget the exact word for it.
Someone asked about what is if you play before Rise of Islam. If you are in the near of the Islam spawn, you can adopt the faith and you will not get attacked. If he will declare war on you, you can also convert to his faith. There's an event window where you can choose if you want to fight or want to go to Islam faith.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Nice. Anyway, we're sort of out of time for the interview now, though. But it was a great pleasure talking to you guys, though. And of course, anyone that wants more information, please do join the Fallen Eagle Discord. Please do like talk to them. Like obviously this is not something where this is your last chance to ever speak to the devs ever, and they're never going to answer any more questions. Because there's a lot of questions I saw, and we just can't get to all of them, right? So feel free to join the Discord, talk about it, and if you want to have an influence on how things go with the mod, I mean, start working on it, start making some contributions, and I'm sure that they would appreciate it. But thank you so much, guys, for being on here. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a good time, and I hope I did a good job interviewing.
We appreciate it. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
For sure. I'm going to leave the Discord call now. We're going to move on to the next section, okay?
Okay. All right.
Bye, guys. Thank you, guys. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.
There it is. Okay. That's that. We'll hide that now. So we can hide the game too, I think. Yeah, let me just close this there. Great. The next section is actually something which I sort of have a bit of a hand in. Okay, I'll talk about it in 1 second. I'm just going to leave CK3 to save us on the lag. But that was Fallen Eagle, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Lots of stuff coming out for Fallen Eagle. Be sure to go check out the Discord. Go and join the team if you want to. Contribute whatever you can. They're always looking for people. The next section, interview, I don't know. It's an interview, but it's pre-recorded, I guess you could say. May actually be relevant to those of you that are hoping to learn a little bit about modding. It's the Mod Compatibility Discussion. It's hosted by me, and it's a long discussion where I sat down with Lord R, CyberXCon, who you were just listening to, and Gib, who is like a UI modder. We sat down with 3 developers, and we asked them a bunch of questions about, how does mod compatibility even work? Like when we make mods and stuff, that kind of thing. It's an interesting conversation. It's a little bit long, so sit in, strap in, get ready to listen. I tried to give some nice visuals and some text and stuff so that you can have an idea of what we're talking about. But essentially, it's a discussion about the way that modders make mods so that they work together with each other. Because, you know, we wouldn't want to have mods that don't work together, right? So if you're interested in learning about modding, now's your opportunity. Let's go ahead and get this started. Just give me 1 second here. Let me pull it up here. Give me one moment. Let's see. Okay, here it comes, guys. Hope you're ready. Let's mute the music. Mute the music. Okay, here it comes.
History is the beginning and end of all things. Every action has a cause and effect, and so too does inaction. Each living creature must make a choice.
Hold on a minute, guys.
then
Wait a
learn
minute.
to
I'm
live
sorry.
with the
I'm sorry. Hold on.
consequence.
That's the Dragon Age trailer. That's the Dragon Age trailer, guys. That's the Dragon Age trailer. Totally unintentional mistake, guys. Oh no. Not the Dragon Age trailer again. No, look, guys, I had to make the callback. Okay, you know I had to make the callback. Okay, but let's go ahead and actually watch the interview now. You know I had to. I kind of messed up because I kept my camera on screen. Look. Okay, I'm trying my best. Okay, I really am. But yeah, check out Dragon Age, by the way. But let's actually go and watch the mod compatibility interview now. There are many challenges to making mods, and the ones that are often highlighted are the difficulties of coding or making models and art, alongside the mammoth task of coordinating a team, in the case of larger mods, among many other challenges, but there's something in the broader modding community that often goes unnoticed. Few people that play Paradox games use only one mod, so it's an inherently desirable goal to make mods compatible with each other. This can sometimes be tougher than it looks, whether because of actual coding issues or simply a lack of cooperation or communication between mod makers. Nonetheless, many mod makers make an effort to make their mods compatible, and today we've brought together some pillars of the modding communities for both Crusader Kings 3 and Victoria 3 to discuss a couple things like what exactly compatibility is, and how mod makers work to ensure their mods work with other mods. This discussion is intended to be understandable by even those with zero knowledge of mod making, and it features me, as a pretty inexperienced modder, to try and help bridge the gap of knowledge between the GigaChad mod makers and the GigaChad mod players. That's you guys. Without further ado, allow me to introduce our mod makers.
I'm Loradar. I'm one of the two modders behind the Victoria 3 mod Molkenröte. For us, compatibility is quite important because it's quite a big mod, so...
Awesome. How about CyberXCon, who I believe is behind Viet and Rice, famous mods for CK3? Go ahead.
Yes, hello, and thank you for the kind introduction. I'm CyberXCon, as mentioned. I mod mainly Crusader Kings 3 with the Viet and Rice mods. I do also do Stellaris modding, not as much these days. I do have a Nameless mod, Prison 9 mod, Origins mod, a couple other things. And I do have experience modding Crusader Kings 2 as well, since almost a year came out, very long time ago. So, over the years, I've learned a lot about modding, and one of the things I learned is it's very important to keep compatibility in mind if you want your mod to be used alongside other mods. And I'm very infamous in the mod community for having a no-touch vanilla rule where I don't touch any vanilla code at all. I hope to kind of talk about some of that stuff I learned today in this panel.
And lastly, but not leastly, we have the Gib 770.
Hello, I am Gib. I work on the expanded mod series, of which CyberXCon has also helped us make Cultures Expanded and Rice compatible. I also have written the Unified UI mod for CK3, a master patch behind making a whole bunch of UI mods compatible.
So I want to make this discussion something which I think anyone can watch, because, I think some of you might know that I also do a little bit of modding. My viewers will know that, but, I'm not nearly as into it as you guys are. But I want to make sure everyone knows, what do we exactly mean by compatibility with mods? Like, is that just when, they don't crash? Is that what that means?
I think there are different levels of compatibility. Like, the lowest level is just it doesn't crash. And then you have, like, it works kind of with each other without overwriting anything. And then you also have, like, inbuilt compatibility. So, for example, your mod can interact with another mod.
I think that's a good summary of it. Yeah, like, I think at the very bare minimum, when we talk about compatibility, we do try to, like, make sure the game doesn't crash. But because mods can do a lot of different things. It's very likely, especially for bigger mods, that there will be some quote-unquote conflict, and that usually means, like, let's just say, for instance, my mod changes Genghis Khan's culture to, I don't know, like French for some reason, but then another mod changes Genghis Khan's culture to Egyptian, right? There's a conflict there because only one of those can be true at a time. Genghis Khan can only be one culture. That's just how the game works. So there is a conflict there, but this is not something that would likely cause a crash because the game will just pick one mod to override the other, usually based on load order.
There's that, and you would also need to know if you needed a compatibility patch to solve which overrides should overwrite each other, or if you have an inbuilt detection system built into each other's mods to take into account which events should play, if I added any events for specific mods, etc.
That makes sense to me. I think that sounds like a very good explanation, and I hope people will understand what exactly it means. Essentially, mods have to do things that interact with each other sometimes, and if they interact with each other in ways that are not like doable, then they're going to basically one's going to take over the other one based on the load order. Which you might remember, you gotta drag them in the playset, put them in order and all that. One thing I'm curious about is when you're designing, like, let's say you're creating a mod and you're doing a good practice, you're making a scope for yourself so you don't overload yourself with work and get yourself screwed by maybe doing way too much at once. What priority is compatibility for you when you're deciding how to build your scope for the mod?
That's a tough question. The biggest difficulty is if you want to be the, I guess you can say, the master mod, so the ones that other people have to conform to, or if you want to be more open-ended and below somebody in the load order, right? So the question is more of like, do I want to take control of somebody else's mod with mine, or do I want to let their mod shape what I'm going to build?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I think one thing, I'll probably talk about this more, but one thing about compatibility is it's not just the actual nuts and bolts of the mods itself, it's also the modding community. A lot of it requires, especially for bigger, more popular mods like us, like reaching out to other mods teams to make sure our mods play together nicely. One thing I think is like it does a lot of this compatibility stuff. Also, it depends on the kind of the culture of the mod community in several ways. But one thing I'm thinking of right now is, for instance, Crusader Kings 2. The way the modding scene worked was there were a few like very big mods that were like all-in-one packages, Historical Immersion Project or CK2 Plus. Those were like kind of the big base mods that the guild was talking about. And then everyone else did all the other low mods. They kind of had to keep in mind, like, do I want to make my mod compatible with these big mods or not? Whereas for Crusader Kings 3, the modding scene has been a lot more decentralized. There are some big mods like my Rice mod, but they're not big to the extent that like Historical Immersion Project or CK2 Plus was. So a lot of times I see the compatibility discussions framed about like making the mods work together rather than should I make my mod compatible with this big mod or have a version of my mod compatible with this big mod. I've seen different mod communities have like different approaches based on just how the modding scene works.
It's also true for Victoria 3. Like in Victoria 2, there are like 2 big mods, and I think their compatibility was even worse. But in Victoria 3, we have mostly smaller mods right now. And for me personally, compatibility is very important because it is not just does your mod work with other mods, but if you touch as few vanilla files as possible, that also means you don't have to keep them updated. Like if you have one huge vanilla file, it takes a long time just to see what changed and adapt it again. For me personally, it's important to not have to work that much on just making it work again. And there are some files that I personally would never touch, like for example the map, because it instantly makes the mod incompatible with all the other mods that touch the map.
That's a good point to talk about vanilla files, because I know from my experience in modding, it's very good practice to not touch those. quickly explain what that means. Whenever if you ever look at the game files of the game, if you've done, some people have never opened up the game files, but basically it's all just text files on a notepad for the most part. So you can just open them up and you can do whatever you want with them. In theory, you can just delete all of them and ruin your game, or you can go in and give yourself 10,000 gold every time you have a kid, whatever. You can do anything you want. A lot of, well, not anything, as I'm sure we'll talk about, but you can do a whole lot of stuff by just editing text files. And one thing about editing vanilla files is that then everyone's working from a different sort of base game, right? If you're all editing vanilla files. And also, when the game gets updates, it'll mess up your mod because you mess with the vanilla files, right? One thing I'm curious about, just from your guys' experience in looking at other mods or working with mods in general, do you feel like it's a common practice for people to avoid touching vanilla files, or is it just you guys?
I think a lot of people understand it in theory, but in practice it can be a little harder, depending on what you want to do. And I think, especially for newer modders or like less experienced modders, I think they do tend to touch a lot more vanilla files than, say, a more veteran modder. Part of this might be, sometimes they just don't understand the code as well, so they might think they need to edit this or that. Other times, I think it's because the more inexperienced modders, you're less likely to restrain yourself, for lack of better wording. Like you're not really as sure about the scope of your mods. I think for all inexperienced modders, once you kind of learn the basics of modding, it's very, very it's so much fun. Like, oh, I can change this, I can do this, I can do that, and then you kind of just want to change everything, but then you don't really think like, well, do I really need to change that? Then there's that scope creep kind of coming in. But I think I think from my experience, a lot of modders do understand it in theory, but in practice, it can be harder to actually apply like restrictions to yourself in terms of what vanilla files you touch. Like me, I'm like on the very extreme end where I literally do not touch any vanilla file. I will go out of my way to do wonky workarounds just to avoid touching vanilla. But for a lot of modders, that's very hard, and that will kind of restrict them in ways that they don't want, right? So it's kind of a question of how much are you willing to restrict your the potential of what you want to do?
Speaking further on that, are there ever times where you feel like you do have to touch vanilla files? I'll give you an example that I ran into recently. I wanted to add, in Crusader Kings 3, I'm working on a Turkic flavor mod, and I wanted to add a Dynasty Legacy that lets you raid over land. And I realized that the way that raiding permissions are done in CK3, you kind of have to mess with this one dedicated vanilla file that defines it. And I was like, oh, okay. I tried to find a way around it, and I found that if there was a way, I don't have the skills for it. So I accepted that I had to. Do you guys run into issues like that, ever at all in Victoria 3 or in Crusader Kings 3?
All UI files are like that. If you ever want to add an addition to a character window, a realm window, or any of the windows, you will have to edit the vanilla file. It's a nightmare to deal with because once you edit that character file, if another mod edits that character file, one will overwrite the other. So part of the difficulty is educating UI modders how to create UI modifications that can actually be written into each other's files. Because you will basically have to have a detection system, and you will have to have each other's script inside of the other's mod in order for it to work.
The UI has got a particular problem with that, I guess. And I imagine same for Victoria 3, because in case people don't know, Victoria 3, Crusader Kings 3, EU4, it's all like extremely similar script. Although not the exact same, but very, 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 very similar.
For Victoria 3, there are some other files that like you kind of have to touch. For example, if you want to add a production method to a building, you have to edit that building in particular. There is no effect to add one later. Or another example that is not actually always the case, but often is resources, because those are defined at the beginning of the game with the map data. You can get around it if you add new resources, but not really for already existing ones. And another case, I think, is adding technologies. If you want to, for example, add a technology before a vanilla technology, then you also have to edit that file.
I think a lot of this also comes with experience, because there's some things like, for instance, UI that's kind of I think becomes more obvious that you can't really do that without potentially having compatibility issues. But there are other things where it might not be as obvious at first until you actually experiment around a bit. So one thing that for Crusader Kings 3 modding is like, for instance, if you add a new faith with a new religion, you can do that without touching vanilla code. But if you add a new faith to an existing religion in vanilla, like Christianity or Islam, you have to modify the vanilla code, just the way it works right now. Hopefully the devs might change in the future, but just the way it works right, that's how it is. So for instance, for my Rice mod, I have not added any new faiths to existing religions, even though I would want to, just because I'll have to touch the vanilla code. But whereas for Fallen Eagle, that's another mod I've worked on in the past. It's a mod that changes the setting to let antiquity. I can just add all the faiths I want because as a total conversion, because it's a total conversion, I don't have to worry as much about compatibility because the total conversion kind of acts like the master big mod that kind of handles everything as we kind of discussed earlier. I remember when Crusader Kings 3 first came out, I did not realize that was an issue at first. So I initially added some new faiths to existing religions, but then it was causing compatibility issues of other mods, and then I kind of did some experiments, and I realized, oh, I can't really do this.
I really appreciate all the information you guys have given me. Now I want to give you the chance to just flex some skills here. I assume that all of you here are quite veteran modders, whereas I'm quite a newbie modder. So when I run into something with a compatibility issue, I also try to not touch the vanilla files. And so far, hand to God, I have not really needed to, except for that time I mentioned, where I really needed to do the rating stuff. But when you guys have been faced with your most difficult compatibility issues, what did you do to get around them? Just maybe like make us, tell a story about your experience trying to get around this one compatibility issue you couldn't quite fix, or were able to maybe.
So I mentioned resources before, and that you would have to edit the map data. And we wanted to add the uranium resource to the game, but in a way that doesn't need to modify the map itself. And there is a way around it in Victoria. You can basically tie the levels of a building to a modifier. And so we added those modifiers to the states where you can find uranium. And that actually worked pretty good.
Okay, so so to give an idea to the people who don't know necessarily what that means, with Victoria 3 you have like the resources, right? And they're assigned there based on the game data. But according to Lord R here, you can use a modifier on the state, sort of like if you've ever seen those modifiers that are like plus loyalists and stuff like that. Is that sort of what you mean? Like something similar to that? Yeah. Yes. A modifier like that basically adds uranium as a modifier on the state, as a permanent modifier, I assume. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's pretty cool.
Has a little issue though. If you have a state that is not yet colonized, and it gets colonized, the modifier disappears. And we had that issue we added animals to the map with modifiers. And then, for example, on New Guinea, they just disappeared. But luckily, Paradox added the ability to add state traits that don't disappear to the state regions. And that solved that problem.
And the state traits are like the plus fertility from rivers and that kind of thing. Like that's the state traits, right? Yeah. Okay. And those don't go away. Good to know if I ever do Victoria 3 modding. Haven't actually dived into it yet myself. I'm only on CK3 for now.
For UI, the tab system for the character window, most tabs in the game work on a variable system. In CK3, the character window has its own unique tab system. So if you click on it, it only opens up the family window, only opens up the relation window. So I actually had to go in, rewrite all of those from scratch to add variables to those tabs because they didn't have any, and to write a variable system when you click the tab buttons. I had to do that to the character window and the realm window. Alongside on the realm window, I had to add scroll boxes to everything for all the new governments people keep adding in. So you can track the governments of your vassals. Any new laws, they have different tags now. Have to make space for those. It's mostly trying to fit in new mod ideas where they shouldn't, unfortunately.
And for me, I can't, I'm actually skimming through my code right now, trying to see if there was anything like really, really crazy that I did in the past. But there's nothing like that super crazy I can think of. But I think maybe just my own approach to compatibility might be a little crazy for some modders. Just the fact I just don't touch any vanilla code, period. And because of that, that does require me to do some interesting workarounds here and there. A lot of times those workarounds are just me having things apply at the start of the game through a hidden effect. So what that means, I guess, in layman's term is when you load into the game, my mod does a bunch of things behind the scenes that changes it right before the game starts when it's loading, when you load into the new save. So for instance, an example is in vanilla, there's a lot of different cultures, religions on the map. I make some changes to those, but I don't actually touch any of the history code, any of the code that handles what culture and what religion goes in which county in each start date. I do that through an effect at the beginning of the game. So once the player loads in, that's when it changes. And it is a little tedious and it's a little weird because, in terms of like manpower, it could just be easy. It might just be easier to just change a few values in the vanilla code. But I personally try to stick to my principles, so to speak, and just don't touch any vanilla code. So that's a kind of a simpler example of how my no touch vanilla rule works. So there's some other stuff that's a little more complicated, but I do follow that very strictly, maybe a little too strictly sometimes, but in a way it's a little fun trying to figure out what I can do despite this self-imposed rule I have on myself. And I've learned that there's still a lot you can do with the game, even when you don't touch vanilla code.
That was a little interesting stuff you guys said, and I appreciate the opportunity to flex. You guys are humble. You didn't show off too much, but I think what you guys do is very impressive. So feel free to pat yourselves on the back a little more, be a little more Giga Chad about it, But I will wonder, I wonder about if you could sit with like a Paradox dev, I don't know, any of them that you think have enough influence to get what you want done. What is something you would want changed about, modding in general if you want, or more specifically compatibility about this discussion, but like what's something that really just frustrates you? You're like, man, I wish this was different, but it's not in Victoria 3 or CK3.
For Victoria 3, I think the one that I already mentioned, resources, it would be great to have like an effect to add or take away resources in states. And also, it's not something I do, but I've heard from other modders that AI strategies are not really compatible if you add more. And a huge thing that I really would like to get changed is, so every pop in Victoria 3 has like a defined value of what they consume, basically. So if they have a standard of living of, let's say, 25, they buy so much clothes, so much luxury clothes, and so on. And that's basically one huge file, a list, and it's really hard to make it compatible because you have to overwrite it. So an effect there would be great, and the same goes for pop needs. So those define basically like you can either buy luxury clothes, or you can use normal clothes, or maybe even textiles for it. And then obviously also production methods, because those are really not compatible. So being able to add a production method to a building after the game is started.
I think that would be pretty good too. I always thought that when it came to resources in Victoria 3, like they get discovered as the game goes throughout. But I guess that's a different effect than actually adding new resources, right? Yeah, okay. Good to know. I didn't know that. I'll keep that in mind if I ever go into doing Victoria 3 modding. Because I would have assumed that discovery effect was the adding resources effect. Yeah, okay.
It would also be great to be able to add more, like we have a geologist, and if he's prospecting, it would be cool if we could actually add more resources to a state.
And to be clear, that's something that you just can't do. It's not even about compatibility. It's like I guess you could modify the base game files to just make that state have resources, but there's no effect for mid-game adding a resource. Yeah, okay.
Except if we as a community would decide to basically take away the resources at the beginning and base them on state traits or state modifiers, like I did with uranium.
Interesting idea, yeah. If everyone agreed to a standard, I'm sure the UI guy will have a lot to Mr. Gibb will have a lot to say about agreeing to a community standard, because I know that that's something that matters to you quite a bit. But yeah, the community standards are probably pretty hard to enforce in a very decentralized community like modding. But speaking on that, since I mentioned UI, what do you think, Gib, about something you wish you could have if you could just talk to a dev and threaten them with violence to make it happen?
I don't know if there's much, unfortunately, you could do about UI. It looks like all of the newer games are going to stay that way, where basically they all use the same UI system, similar scripting methods for it. The only thing that we can do is all of the new games have a modding co-op. If you're new to modding, you want to make a UI mod, start there. We will help you design it in a way that you can be compatible with others. We will teach you about types and templates, which a lot of new modders do not know about. It'll really help you out. As far as what I would like to see in the game, it's similar to CyberXCon, religion modding for CK3. The new culture system that was added a couple years ago, the biggest change that it did is that cultures are no longer dependent on defining their heritage. So they do have a heritage, but they're not defined within a singular heritage. Faith and religion, on the other hand, you cannot add a faith to a religion without also redefining what faiths can go in that religion. The only way for any compatibility is to create a standard. It's messy. Maybe only a few mod teams can create a standard for other people to follow. I know that the rest of the Cultures Expanded team and CyberXCon, we've worked together with added cultures to try to keep them to use the same key anytime we need to change that or add it into the CE system. It's easy for us to communicate, but that's like setting a standard too high for new modders, and I rather have them be able to learn and grow without having to depend on the big names out there.
You mentioned CyberXCon as well, his projects. I assume that this modding community. I'm in the mod co-op as well, and I've noticed that like there are a lot of big names that you'll just kind of see pop up in there, and it's pretty cool. The community is pretty interactive, and I thought that was really, really nice. It's a nice community though overall. I will say it's a nice community, especially if you are willing to kind of humble yourself and let someone else really teach you a lot. There also are people sometimes in the mod co-op who just have these insane expectations for what they can get done. It's like, whoa, buddy. There's a command in the CK3 mod co-op when people ask about total conversions, and it'll just spit out like, don't do a total conversion because it's a huge project. Just please don't do this. Or it'll be like, think about it first. I love those. For me, I found this really funny. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, before we go to the next question, though, I want to let CyberXCon answer about the thing he'd like the most if he could talk to a dev. Sorry to go on my little tangent there. You go ahead and answer the question.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, and I mean, to kind of continue the tangent, I think it's, I've been through enough modding communities, not just Paradox. Like actually years ago, I used to mod Civilization 4, and I've seen, and I've also used mods for other games like the Elder Scrolls, Mountain Blade. So I've seen how different mod communities work, and even within Paradox, like each mod community is very different. And I'm very glad the Crusader Kings mod community is relatively chill, like not always, but relatively chill, and there are very helpful people out there. A lot more patience than me for helping the newbies, because yeah, like you say, it is tough, for us more experienced modders to try to think from a newbie's perspective and have the patience to explain what to us is very, like, it's a very obvious stuff to us might not be obvious to other people. But anyway, so for stuff that I would like to see to improve compatibility, I agree with Gib. Religion. There is quite a number of things in religion that we can mod, but it might cause compatibility issues with other mods if we don't really communicate with each other, which isn't always possible. So big one, like the Gib mentioned, was adding new faiths to existing religions. So let's say I wanted to add a Protestant faith to Christianity. I'll have to modify the Christianity file. That's a big one. Another thing for religions is you cannot add a new tenet without modifying the vanilla code. So tenets, that's stuff like divine marriage or astrology or esotericism. So those tenets of faith, you cannot modify those without modifying the vanilla file for them. Doctrines, however, you don't need to touch vanilla code to add a new doctrine. So, you don't need to touch vanilla code to add a new doctrine that's like separate from vanilla doctrines. But if you want to add just one tenet, you have to modify the vanilla file. That's another thing that's a bit of a hurdle for me right now. I do get around it a little bit with like adding special doctrines, which are like unique doctrines that are kind of separate. But that's kind of not really an ideal situation, I think. And then other thing is changing holy sites for religions, because right now the holy sites are defined in the religion code, and once they're defined, that's the holy site for the religion forever. I think you can hide the holy site and re-enable it, but you can't change what those holy sites are. So, for instance, if Christianity has Jerusalem as a holy site, I think you can make it so like it doesn't become a holy site anymore, or it becomes a holy site again. But I can't say like halfway through a game, I can't tell the game, hey, make Mecca a holy site for the Catholic faith. You can't do that. Whereas I do remember in Crusader Kings 2, you could actually do that through the code, like tell the game to change the holy site of a faith halfway through. But you can't do that with Crusader Kings 3. Like, actually, kind of off a bit of a tangent, there was a mod a while back that made it so, if I remember correctly, you could change the holy sites of religions, but it actually had a workaround where if I remember correctly, it gave every faith every single holy site, but it just made most of those holy sites invisible or like disabled. And then it had like a mechanism where it would enable these other holy sites depending on what you do in the game. So in a way, it wasn't an actual. It was like a very, very interesting workaround. So yeah, I think for me, definitely making religion modding a lot more flexible is something that would be really, really, really great to have. I hope whether it comes like a religion DLC in the future or just some update, like I really hope to see that in the future. Because I think that would, for my modware for Rice and for Fallen Eagle, I think it would open up a lot of new stuff I can do and also make it a lot easier to maintain compatibility of other mods.
For sure, yeah. It's so funny that you mentioned that workaround for getting the holy sites, because as you were talking, I was thinking, what you could do? You could make every single county a holy site and just hide them all. I was thinking like, oh yeah, here's my own compatibility brain is starting to work in the background there, but then someone already did it, and that makes sense. Because if I could think of it, I'm sure someone much more skilled would have already thought of it. But
yeah, you can imagine like it's a really brilliant workaround, but it's very kind of wonky,
tedious.
Yeah.
This actually leads to an interesting question. So one thing about these Paradox games in general that people are concerned about is like performance, right? Everyone wants the game to run better. Have you ever had a workaround where you're like, I could do this, but it would cause huge performance problems? For example, I know this in CK3. Sometimes I'm really tempted to hit the every global character effect. I forget what it's called, but the one where you iterate through every single person on the map. And it's like, don't do that, because that's going to use a lot of resources. But sometimes it feels like, wouldn't that just be so nice? Like, I don't have to scope to anything. I don't have to think of a good workaround. I can just look through everyone in the game, right? Like, but it would cause a huge performance issue. So have you run into problems like that pretty often with your mods?
Yeah, the one thing that I noticed is that, like, you can fire effects or events in different time. So like every 10 years, every 5 years, every year, every month, theoretically every week, but you have to kind of do a workaround for that. And if you do something every month, it is very performance intensive. And we once had an event that basically changed, like, North German and South German are two cultures in Victoria 3, and we merged them through some journal entries and some events, And then we had an effect that every month actually, converted all pops that were still like North or South German to the new culture. And then it was quite performance intensive, so we decided to just scrap this whole system because it's just not worth the performance cost.
That makes total sense to me. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've ever had to do something like that, but I think I've only ever considered like the ease of a very performance intensive fix, and then just been like, no, that's a bad idea. I should not do that, and just kind of given up on it. It sucks you had to give up on the whole idea though because of that. I wonder how many ideas you've had ever that could have been implemented if not for performance problems. But yeah,
I think usually when I do cause performance issues in my mods, it's more due to just me poorly scripting something on my end. I do remember I remember like one like old Crusader Kings 2 modding. It did cause massive slowdowns one time because Crusader Kings 2 the issue is really, or N3 the issue is really the characters, right? That's really one of the big reasons why Crusader Kings is very performance heavy even compared to other Paradox games, because we're not dealing with just a couple hundred countries. We're dealing with thousands of characters potentially that could be interacting with each other in multiple different ways. So I remember one time a while back, my Crusader Kings 2 mod games, actually nothing that's probably more than a decade ago. I did this thing where I was generating courtiers for a court, right? So it's simple enough. That happens a lot in even vanilla, no big deal. But for some reason, it was causing massive slowdowns. And at first, I didn't really understand why, what was going on. Eventually, there was a user who really helped me kind of look through the save files to figure out what was going on. We realized I was generating courtiers for 4 courtiers. So the courtiers would have their own court, which would then spawn their own court, and it just kind of spiraled out of control. Been like a couple of decades, there would just literally be thousands and thousands of characters in courts that did not exist on the map in a sense. And it was just causing a massive slowdown. So thankfully nipped in the bud.
and I wonder if there could be like, it's because Gib is next, of course, talk about this, and he does most of the UI stuff. Is there an issue with performance with UI? I wonder, like, is that even a thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So the biggest one that I would know about, any text that you show in UI is live updated. So if you have custom or scripted UI to make text appear in your UI screen, better not have a lot of effects in it because it's checked pretty much every tick. You'll see some early modders trying it out, and they'll pull up some a random effect custom localization for their text, and they'll pull it up on the character screen or somewhere else, and you'll just see the text literally change every frame, and you could tell right away that somebody's running probably something that they don't know that they need to have, 1, in piecemeal, and 2, less effects in it, or less triggers in it to check. I unfortunately have one of those mods where I butcher CK3 for my own amusement. It's called Name Packs Expanded. It has over 2 million localization keys just to fit for every possible localization key I can generate. That way it doesn't flicker, it doesn't break. It is a nightmare.
Wow, that is dedication to compatibility, is making 2 million localization keys. Oh my goodness. I know that performance isn't the same thing as compatibility, but again, it's the same idea of workarounds to fix a problem, right? I mean, I kind of asked it because I was personally curious, even though it's a compatibility discussion. But one thing I definitely think it would be interesting to look at is like best practices for new modders and stuff, like telling them like, hey, don't code things that way. That's kind of part of compatibility, right? And from what I understand, there's kind of like, at least for CK3, there's like a project to kind of keep the UI sort of united in the way it's done, which I think is through the templates and things that you mentioned. I've never actually modded UI before, so I don't know like anything about it. I don't intend to get into it because it looks way more complicated than the regular game modding. But how much do you guys care about like making sure the community is kind of in on the whole compatibility thing? Like I assume a bit, but
So my GitHub for Unified UI has a small short wiki that's written by myself and Stick. It has 3 sections on it. and it's dedicated for everything to how you should design your UI to be compatible. It will go over global variables, which is useful for people who aren't doing UI because you can detect which mods are running just from setting up a global variable on game start. It will go over types and templates. So now you can just insert a small little text field in the UI, and anybody who wants to use your mod for compatibility can add that in. It will have one error on startup if it's not loaded, and will not affect performance in any way. And now you guys are both compatible with each other.
That's
And
awesome.
the third thing it will go over is text replacement. This is something that I started doing for name packs expanded. I had to edit the text that was in UI. A lot of vanilla UI uses direct text in the UI. And this creates a problem where you can't replace that without editing that UI to be incompatible with others. So in unified UI, I switched every mention of title and name to localization keys. Localization keys that you can just put into a replace folder for your mod, and it will replace those keys for you in the UI. You do not have to touch UI at all, and it's a good practice for setting up your new conversion mods to be compatible in the future.
I remember looking at the unified UI GitHub thing and being like, yeah, this is too much for me, and then just walking out. Not because you did it poorly, but because I was thinking about doing some UI modding, and I was like, I don't want to open this can of worms, so I decided not to. I decided I would measure myself and leave it there. But definitely, if you're interested in UI modding, I've seen some of the CK3 co-op UI modding chats, and it's like, yeah, people come in and they've never done anything, and they just completely overwhelmed. Asking for help is always good. Looking at these GitHubs is really good. I know the I don't know if you guys do any of like the CK3 wiki for modding. Like I don't know, like I look on there occasionally for a bit of help, but I find that like it's a little bit outdated. Just, I don't think people update it too much, but it's there, I guess. Basically, ask for help. That's what I'm saying, because I found that I haven't lately needed to, because I've been able to keep my scope of my projects in the area of knowledge that I have, so I've been pretty independent. But I used to definitely help and get help from the CK3 mod co-op.
I talk about best practices too, because we have something similar like the Crusader Kings co-op. So, like, you have the UI mod or framework, what it was called, and we have the community mod framework, which is basically similar. A lot of it is also UI, like for example, we have the sidebar, so that's the part on the left of the screen where you can open windows, and we have a way to add those in the game so that multiple mods can add them. Or another cool thing is community mod triggers, which basically allow you to check if a mod is active at the moment. So those are two things that the community mod framework offers, and there is a lot of other cool stuff that we have. And one other thing I think is very important is the on actions, which are basically like, if this and this happens, do this. For example, events use them a lot because they don't fire on their own. They are fired by those on actions. And if you overwrite a vanilla on action, the effect part, then it will just not fire those effects anymore, even if you do it in a separate file. So you have to define your own on action in the on action, and then it actually works and is compatible with everything.
Same in CK3 for that, by the way. You have to do the same thing. You gotta make the new on. You do like an on action within an on action, so you don't overwrite everything. Yeah, pretty cool. I think compatibility is something which is interesting, because I think modding inherently is a kind of isolated task, in the sense that there are big modding teams, of course, but a lot of people, how they start, you don't usually begin on a modding team, although you can. I've heard of people who like started off by doing like a small section of a big mod, right? But a lot of people just kind of start modding, and they don't necessarily think about like other people too much, which is no shade on them. That's normal. You're not always thinking about the huge picture. But it's interesting how I found that following these practices can save you a lot of headaches in the future. Because one thing We mentioned, I think, way earlier in the interview, but like when you modify vanilla files, that means every patch could screw you, right? Every time the game is patched. So it's one of those things where sometimes the supposedly easy way is actually kind of the hard way. I suppose in many ways, the sentiment of the easy way being the hard way can summarize very well the truth of mod compatibility. Many of the practices that encourage compatibility are themselves very effective ways to mod. However, this cerebral discussion does have to come to an end because we've run out of time, sadly. I actually have already pushed the discussion to be just a few minutes longer than it's supposed to be. Oops. So I'll keep the outro short and sweet. What I hope you've learned here is that modding is not easy to master, but it's relatively easy to just get into, and it's full of wonderful people that would be happy to help you get started. Modding can be an arduous task, but is one which, thanks to its strong community members, manages to stay fun and fulfilling for many people, including myself. Remember, we just interviewed some of the titans of Paradox modding for CK3 and Victoria 3, but you can also be like me. Sometimes I pick up a little project, dump 2 weeks of time into it, and walk away with a finished product I can call mine. It doesn't mean I didn't work hard, and it doesn't mean I made a bad mod. It just means I know my limits and I stayed within them. For any aspiring modder out there, I'd recommend you take the leap of faith and just try your best to make something manageable. Ask for help and learn from others, and one day you might be able to help someone else out too. I hope you enjoyed this mod compatibility discussion. Thanks so much to Lord R, CyberXCon, and Gib for taking the time to let me annoy them with my questions. And thank you, dear ModCon viewer, for taking the time out of your day to listen. If you really got something out of it, consider donating some money for the World Monument Fund so that the modifiers those buildings grant can stick around, so that the history can be preserved. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the show. Wow. Deep. What a bunch of intellectual minds stimulating each other in, totally normal ways. Excellent. That was really nice. Like I said, in that discussion, though, I did indeed run a little bit over the amount of time I'm supposed to do, because I just really wanted to include all the answers from the discussion there. So we're not going to spend too much time talking about like, oh, that was so cool. What an amazing discussion. Wow, wonderful. We're instead going to look at a big project that we've all been looking forward to. Everyone knows what it is, okay? We're looking at Rice, guys. And look, Rice has been teasing a lot of interesting stuff for a while. A lot of interesting stuff for a long time. And I think you're all very curious to see what it's going to be. So I'm not going to tease you anymore. We're going to go ahead and just play the next trailer. Here it comes. Rice presents, in collaboration with Ibn Battuta's Legacy and Africa Plus, where pharaohs and Kushite kings once ruled, two lands now bound by ancient treaty. Yet for as long as the Nile remains, so shall their people endure. The Nubia Flavor Pack, Heirs of Kush. Experience two new situations in Nubia and Egypt. Manage the Nile flood and the Bakht Treaty. Immerse in new flavor from medieval Sudan. Rice's 40th flavor pack and next flagship update coming soon in 2025. Cinema. Am I right, chat? Wow, not quite aligned. Cinema. Amazing. Now you might be saying, oh, that's it? Just a little announcement saying they're getting some Nubia, whatever. Is there even rice in Egypt? I thought, there probably is, but you know what I mean? Okay, what's with that? But we're not done here. We're not done here, guys. Because CyberXCon, in all of his glory, has not just prepared a trailer for you. He has prepared an entire presentation. This one's not as long as the mod discussion, but settle in and get ready for even more information about the upcoming Rice flavor pack. Here it comes.
Good morning. I'm CyberXCon, creator of the Viet and Rice mods, and a member of the Fallen Eagle team. In the past year, I've been very busy with real life and haven't modded as much for Rice as I wanted. Despite this, Rice has grown greatly from its fourth struggle, the Sicilian Frontier, to successful collaborations with mods like the Fallen Eagle, Rajas of Asia, Oriental Empires, Eclipsed Crown, Dharma Chakra, Baptism of Rust, Muslim Enhancements, and many more. If you're watching this live at ModCon, you likely just saw the reveal trailer for Rice's next flavor pack, Nubia, Heirs of Kush. Today, this video will give you a preview of the Nubia update. We'll talk about the two new situations for Nubia and Egypt, and what situations even are in the first place. Before I start, I want to mention that everything in this video is a work in progress, even more so than videos I did for previous ModCons. I've been busy with the Oblivion remaster, so I haven't finished as much for this ModCon as I wanted. There will be missing text and art, and some things just won't work. Still, hopefully I can give you a taste of what's to come for Rice. So now, without further ado, let's get started. The Nubia flavor pack will be Rice's first flavor pack using the new situations mechanic added by the Paradox devs with the Cons of the Steppe DLC. But what are situations? Some of you might be familiar with struggles, whether in vanilla or Rice. If you don't know, struggles are a mechanic allowing for special gameplay in a region to give it a narrative focus. Situations are like struggles, creating a strong thematic narrative for a region, but with greater flexibility. For instance, unlike a struggle, you can make rulers outside the situation region be involved in it. Now that we know what situations are, let's take a look at the two coming with the Nubia flavor pack. The first situation we'll take a look at is the Nile River. If you played Rice before in Egypt, you might have interacted with my old Nile flood mechanic, where counties along the Nile get different modifiers every year depending on if the flood is good or bad. The Nile River situation is an evolution of that old system I added years ago, with a sleek new interface and additional features. For instance, instead of modifiers, different kinds of floods are now represented as phases that change every year. Here on the screen, I've shortened the phases to a few days to demonstrate how the Nile flooding can change randomly, but in the final version it'll obviously be every year. The Nile situation also now covers all of the Nile, including Nubia, so it's not just in Egypt. Just like the previous system, there are different activities and decisions to let you interact with the Nile in different ways. The old ones for Egypt, like the activity to pray for a better Nile flood, still remain, but as a Nubian ruler, you'll have access to different mechanics than the Egyptians. Through the Heirs of Kush tradition, you can take a decision to engage in Nubian agricultural practices, with 4 options that give different bonuses to your counties: expand irrigation networks, maintain hafirs, import cattle, and breed cattle. The second situation coming with this update, and the more complex one, is the Bakht. It's named after a treaty supposedly agreed to by the Muslim Caliphate and the Christian rulers of Nubia in the 7th century after they fought each other. The Bakht situation is divided into 2 regions, Nubia and Egypt. Contrary to its portrayal in pop history as an enduring peace, the treaty was often broken by both sides. The Bakht's phases of stability, incapacity, and ascendancy reflect how both sides interpreted the Bakht differently over the centuries. Sometimes it was an equal exchange, and other times it was more unequal. The key feature of the Bakht situation are 3 new character interactions Nubian and Egyptian rulers can do with each other to exchange trade goods and get a truce. Nubian rulers can provide 6 types of goods. Egyptian rulers can provide 6 other types of goods. All have different bonuses. The 3 interactions are to propose an equal exchange, demand payment from the other side, or to offer them a gift. Depending on the personalities and skill of both parties and the current phases of the Bakht in each region, rulers might be more or less willing to accept these interactions or prefer certain goods. For instance, if Nubia is in the ascendancy phase, an Egyptian ruler will likely not be able to demand a Bakht payment from them. Besides the 2 new situations, the Nubia update adds plenty of other content you can expect from a large flagship flavor pack for Rice, like decisions, activities, events, historical characters, cultures, faiths, and more. For instance, there is a new local pilgrimage activity to the church at Banganarti, a medieval Nubian center pilgrimage. It was so popular, we even have an inscription there by a visitor from France in the Catalan language. Who knows how this guy ended up there? One new decision is to get a religious tattoo, which I originally created with the Fallen Eagle mod, thanks to research by members of the Fallen Eagle mod team. It's a simple event and modifier, but adds a bit of immersion as an East African or Egyptian Coptic ruler. Even today, tattoos are an important part of the religious culture for some groups in this region. Some new content has been also integrated with permission from a couple great mods that have always been fully compatible with Rice. One of them is Ibn Battuta's Legacy, which improves the map while still keeping Vanilla's feel. Like me, its creator Elvain is something of a boomer and old man in the modding community, as he and I have been modding Crusader Kings, the series, for more than a decade, and we were even two of the founding members of the hip collection of mods for Crusader Kings 2. Elvain knows a lot about Africa, which shows in his mod work. The other mod I want to give a shout out to is Africa Plus, a carefully researched African flavor mod originally made by Black Emperor, but is currently being maintained by Franks. A team of modders is also working on reviving the mod and adding new content for it, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. That concludes our preview of the Nubia flavor pack and its two new situations, the Nile River and the Bakht. I want to thank all of you who are still watching this far. Like many kids who are into history, I went through an Egypt phase as a child, but I never grew out of it, and even as a child, I was fascinated by Nubia as well. There was something enthralling about a civilization at the crossroads of the Mediterranean, Middle East, and Africa. Due to the recent tragic history of Sudan, a lot of us forget that at one time this was a prosperous land. One 10th century Muslim geographer praised the great gardens, fountains, and gilded churches of the city of Silba in southern Nubia, for instance. I hope this update will shed light on the underrated and underappreciated history of Nubia. While what you saw in this video is very much a work in progress, as I mentioned earlier, I will put out a few dev diaries in the coming weeks to elaborate on the Nubia flavor pack in more detail. Until then, that's all for now. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of ModCon.
Hello, people. I grabbed this bag of rice. I want to show what the mod's all about. Okay? So this is rice. Okay? Because we just watched a presentation about it, but in case you didn't get the gist of it, this is rice. Okay? It's pure basmati in this case. I don't think they grow basmati in Egypt. I don't know what they grow there. Maybe they do, actually. But the sound of the bag makes my cat come over because she thinks that it's actually her food. So I can't crinkle it too much. But yeah, this is the stuff that he's talking about. When he talks about, like, rice, like, it's not an acronym. He's referring to this. Okay? But yeah, I'm gonna put this down for my cat. That's too insane. She's literally sitting here just like, hey, what's that? Is that a bag of food? But before I move on, okay, I want to remind everyone of the giveaway. Okay, there's a giveaway for CK3 keys. Alright, so please, we're closing up the giveaway, and just signing up for it, once we get to Lux Renatus, which you can see is at the bottom of this section here. So, you know, please, feel free to sign up. All you need is a Discord username, and the organizers will handle it. So please do go and sign up for that, because we have keys. Thank you, Paradox, for the keys. We'd like to give them away. Show the creature. I'll see if I can get her to come over here, but she's kind of like just licking herself right now. Hey, come here. I don't think she wants to come over here. I'd have to like pick her up, and I don't know. I don't really want to like force her to move. Does the rice mod send me rice? CyberXCon, answer that one. You can let him know. The next couple mods that we have are a little bit smaller mods. Some of them are solo teams, some of them are small teams, but these are like the more indie mods, you could say. So far, we've looked at a lot of really big ones. But remember, in the mod compatibility discussion, I discussed how there's, you know, you can make a mod of any size, right? To be clear, the mods coming up, the Winter King, Hegemonia, Old Gods Expanded, Lux Renatus, these are not low quality mods or small mods that don't deserve your attention. These are some amazing pieces of work that have been put together by significantly smaller teams. I look forward to showing them to you. Before I move on, though, I'd like to say thank you so much, okay, to everyone who has donated any kind of money. Also, the cat is here. Here you go. Anyone? Okay, she's leaving. She immediately left, but there she is. Thank you to everyone that here, she wants to look outside. Here you go. Look at that. She wants to look out the window. No, never mind. She doesn't now. Okay, I tried. Everyone that's donated any amount of money at all to the World Monument Fund, thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. It's a good cause, and we really do appreciate every dollar or every whatever currency you want to use. Every Vietnamese dong. Okay, all of them are valuable, and if you have anything to give, feel free to, and please do. It's much appreciated. Also, a big thanks to the organizers for keeping everything organized so far. But yeah, that was the creature. Yes, that was her. Before I yap too much, she is pulling on the strings for the blinds right now. She's going hard. Every time I point the camera at her, she stops. Like, she knows. She's on top of my computer right now. Look at her. We should make her a modder, dude. We should put her in the game. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Here, let me... Is this better for lighting, maybe? But, yeah, she's just chilling. She's just doing her thing. I, of course, keep the blinds closed because I'm a gamer. But when does Rice add Rice? CyberXCon, you're in chat. Go ahead and add it. Go ahead and let them know when you're going to add that. But yeah, for the next mod, before I go off on too much of a tangent here, for the next mod we have the Winter King, which is a mod about the Anglo-Saxon invasion of Britain. So it involves kind of like two sides. You have like the local, native, quote-unquote, Brythonic people, and the invading Germanics. And it's one of those mods where, I don't even know what the term for it is, but where it cuts the whole map out of the game, and it just has Britain. So it's like you have these Germanics invading, and there's a struggle, and they're trying to take over Britain, and you have the resisting native Brythonic people. A very cool concept. It's based on a book, from what I understand, although it is tied to history, though. So it's not a fantasy. It's not like it's made up, but it's based on like a sort of series of novels, or maybe one novel. I'm not actually certain, but it's based on real history, of course, and it's very interesting. I'm excited to present it to you. Here we go, people. Enjoy. Wow. Now, my immediate, like, holy crap, that was impressive. Did you guys see the UI modding that went on there? We saw a presentation about how difficult UI modding is. And then we see this person come in here, make this mod with these crazy UI. I mean, it looked amazing. I think this mod to me might even be like a sleeper hit coming out soon. Okay, you definitely gotta check it out. I like when mods do the thing where they cut off most of the map, because it lets you focus on these details, right? It seems like it's going to be a very, very interesting and like detailed and role play oriented kind of mod, and I'm 100% going to check it out whenever it comes out. It looks amazing. I'm very much looking forward to it. And from what I understand, I think it's made by, I want to say, like one or two people. I think assuming we have a dev in chat, you can let me know. But I think it's only a handful, maybe even one person. I'm not sure, but a very small team making this mod. Very impressive stuff, and I am very much looking forward to playing it. It's just it's so much impressive stuff going on in the community. I mean, just it's crazy. Yeah, about 5 people on the team. Okay, yeah, that's pretty dang small. That's pretty dang small, but very impressive nonetheless. Very, very good. But yeah, check out the Discord. I don't think they have a workshop release yet. Am I right? I believe you guys are planning a release pretty soon, or do you already have a release? Let me check my notes. Push up my glasses. I don't have any. Do we already have a release out? I'm not sure. But check out the Discord though, and you can go find more information. Anytime you need more information about these mods, you can go to the description of the stream. It has all the links in there, and the moderators will also be posting the links as we go as well. But yeah, pretty epic, pretty cool. Okay, looking forward to whatever they want to do. Any questions you guys have, go on the Discord and go ask them. You know, make a community over there for sure. But for now, our next mod. A mod called Hegemonia, the Ancient Odyssey, which is a mod about Greece. It's a similar idea to Winter King in the sense that we're isolating the map to one particular region, and it's about, if I remember correctly, it's about Greece before Alexander the Great and then into the rise of Alexander the Great. So it's like the sort of very classical era, but just before, I guess it's before Imperator Rome. It's super cool. And I'm super looking forward to seeing what it does. It's got all these cool cultures, all these cool religions, and just lots of interesting stuff. We're going to take a watch on it now. It's another one of those impressive small team mods that are just blowing me away, to be honest with you. Here it is. two big things. First of all, do you guys see all the art in that mod, 2D and 3D? Insane. That looks amazing. Second of all, did you guys hear the art in that mod? Faria Faraji? Amazing, beautiful music. Wow. Really, really cool stuff. And also, I love how positive you guys have been being. You know, I gotta say, great community we have here in the CK3 modding community and Invictus. And, well, I called it Invictus. It's Imperator, but the mod is so amazing that it's the name of the game now. But yeah, what an amazing mod we have going on there. All that art, beautiful art. I love that it matched the aesthetic of the game so well. One thing that can be annoying with a mod is if the art is just completely out of place. I'm really bad for that, okay? Because I don't know anything about art or anything like that. But these guys did an amazing job with the beautiful art that matches right in, and the music was just like chef's kiss. We have another mod coming up though. Okay? Head dev of Hegemonia in chat, by the way. We should also say as well, I believe, according to the notes I've been given, they're planning a beta release for the summer and a release for the winter. Or let me make sure I got that right so I don't spread misinformation. Me when I spread misinformation. Sorry, a beta in the summer, release in the winter. So join their Discord, okay? If you would like to find out where this mod goes and eventually play it, be sure to join the Discord and keep up on the information that's coming out. Beta release in the summer. 100% check it out. I'm looking forward to taking a look myself. But anyway, we have more mods yet to come. We have the Old Gods expanded. It's summer now, probably a bit later this summer is what I would guess. But anyway, sorry, I had to burp. And I didn't want to do it into the microphone, so I held it in, and then it made my throat feel weird. But yeah, with we have another mod coming up. It's called Old Gods Expanded, and it's all about upping the flavor on paganism and pagan religions in CK3. Something which I think could really use the attention for sure. I think it's going to be a really interesting mod. It features a whole lot of flavor, a whole lot of interesting mechanics, and stuff like restoring the Egyptian empire to, like, you know, the old faith and all that kind of thing. I'll let the trailer do the talking because what the hell do I know? I'm just some guy, right? Truly, it is the day of Egypt today. But yes, that mod is not just about Egypt, to be clear. It's got other content in it too, but of course, the Egyptian stuff is very attractive. But check out the Discord and the Steam Workshop to access Old Gods Expanded and take a look at it if you want to play more pagan stuff. Very cool, the idea of the hybridized religions, what they were going for there. Very, very interesting. Absolutely loving the design behind these mods. We have another big mod in a similar region. It's called Lux Renatus, and it's actually a revival of an old CK2 mod. And it's headed up by someone who I believe the parents are watching TV, okay? So listen, chat, no swearing, okay? I haven't really been swearing this stream, but no swearing, be good. The modders' parents are watching, okay? Everyone get ready, because here it comes. Coming late 2025. What if the Hellenistic age never ended? Lux Invicta, a classic mod for CK2, reborn for CK3. Lux Renatus. New faiths, governments, titles, decisions, situations, designed entirely around CK3's different gameplay. Join the Discord today to watch development, give suggestions, make demands, maybe hang out. Lux Renatus, late 2025. Amazing. Lux Renatus, okay, a mod all about the Greek world, the Hellenistic age. Very, very, very cool stuff. Amazing. Beautiful. Anyway, I am running slightly overtime, chat. I'm trying to get through these mods, not because they are things I have to get through, but because they're so good that I feel the need to talk about them more. Please join the Lux Renatus Discord to watch development and check it out for sure. Looking very interesting. I wish I could say more about each of these mods, but I'm already a little bit behind. So allow me to get to the big mod, the one that not everyone's here for. Everyone is here for Rice, of course, but the one that many of us, I think, are very excited for, and that is, of course, After the End. We're going to be having a live interview with the developers, just like we had with Fallen Eagle, but first, we've got a little presentation for you, okay, one which I'm very proud to present for you. Here it comes. After the End. In late 2024, the After the End dev team began working on a new, ambitious, and unique system. The goal was to add an entire new way of interacting with the game world. Introducing Trade and Commodities. On the new map mode, players can check the distribution of various New World specialties. From popular coffee, sugar, and wine, to local goods such as yerba mate and tijinda dye. In total, 12 types of trade goods can be collected via special buildings. Import and export those commodities through character interactions. High Republics and landless admin-like characters may act as middlemen between exporters and importers. The system is dynamic. Trade routes will evolve and expand over time. Goods will grant different bonuses to your court and character. Since its official release in March of 2024, After the End has been downloaded almost 90,000 times on Steam alone. We thank each and every member of our community for their incredible support. But our story does not end here. Take a quick look at some of our upcoming content. After the End. Paradox said no trade in CK3. So what did the modders do? They put trade in CK3. The absolute madmen. Now, we have an interview coming, okay? But there's one matter of business to take care of first, and that is that we must give away, okay, we have to give away one of the, not one of, I mean several of the keys for the Chapter 4 DLC that Paradox has so kindly given to us. Give me 1 second to pull it up. Okay, just 1 second, because again, I refuse to ever prepare myself for anything, so that's why everything is so cringe. Just me preparing. There we go. That didn't take that long. I thought I would be much slower, but let me just put that below my camera. There you go. Okay, so we've got a list of names here. Everyone that's signed up. Okay, we're gonna spin the wheel. I believe we have how many keys are giving away? 3. Tell me how many keys are giving away. Someone in the one of the moderators. Let's see, give away 3 keys. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and start with the first one. Click to spin. Who gets it? Oh, it's tipping over. It goes to _Star Scourge. Star Scourge. The way to claim your key, I believe the moderators will tell you. But I believe it's that that's your Discord name. So go into the ModCon Discord and tell someone that that's you. I believe. But feel free to get guidance from the organizers. We're strapped on time, so I'm just gonna go for the next one right away. Okay, everyone, please note down. Okay, who it is. Note down who won. Organizers, I'm sure you have it by now. And let's go to the next one. Yeah, he said got it. Okay, we're good. Next. Who do we got? Looks like it's gonna be. Oh, it's tipping over. EU_Dawn. We'll send you a DM. Okay, EU_Dawn. You will receive a DM containing your key. Congratulations. We have one more winner, and then we're gonna talk to the After the End devs. Here we go. Oh, too much hype. Oh, no, I'm okay. I'm joking. Joking with you. We've got Orc Templar. Here it is. Orc Templar. Congratulations. You've won a key. You will receive a DM from the organizers. Congratulations. Hope you're proud of yourselves. And that's that. We've got more keys coming tomorrow and on, or not tomorrow, sorry, later today, because Generalist is hosting the next day, quote unquote, the next stream. And, it's the same day as this one. But yeah, I hope that those lucky people are able to claim their keys. Congratulations, people. There are more keys to come on Generalist stream, which will be after this one, and tomorrow with Midge's stream. So yeah, let's go ahead and put that away. And now we shall welcome the After the End devs, who I think I'm gonna join the call with them now real quick. Hello, folks.
Hello.
Hello. You are now unmuted. Welcome. It's interview time.
All right.
All right.
How are you guys doing? How's
Alright.
everything?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, let's start with some introductions. So let's just go like I did with Fallen Eagle. We'll go left to right. So go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm sorry, I have stream remote on, so I can't see people's names.
Okay.
So the guy with the weird face.
Archaeopteryx. I've been on the mod for like 2 years now, which seems like a lot, but for a project like ATE, it's not that long. But I'm the sort of like writing lead. I handle, putting in localization and coordinating all of that stuff.
Very cool.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mac Monica. I'm the lead dev of AT, and I joined the Fanfork team in 2019, but I've been playing ATE since Nova Scotia was first added back in sometime in 2014.
Very cool. Our next member seems to be muted. Okay, never mind. You're here. Sorry, go ahead. I thought you might not be here.
Yeah, and thanks. I'm No Pointer. I'm the systems coordinator for the team. I've been working on after the end, I think for 4 years, or at least since we moved to Crusader Kings 3. And yeah, I've been working like governments and these new commodity systems, as well as some other behind the scenes things that happen while you are actually playing the game.
Awesome. Okay. So, big announcement that you just dropped today. This trade system, I believe it's already in the game. Is that correct?
Yes, Noel
Yes.
can explain that the best
Go
out
ahead.
of all of us.
Right. So as you could see on the trailer, um, we have this trade system. It adds not only various commodities that can be produced all over the Americas, but you can also import, export, and even play as a middleman. So play as a merchant, a republic, buying, for example, coffee from South America, moving it through the Caribbean and reaching New York or even other places of North America and vice versa. And it's a completely dynamic system. I think that's the coolest part that we added. So we don't have fixed modifiers on the provinces. You need to interact with characters, travel to their ports, negotiate what you can get the better prices, or at least find the better places to buy, for example, coffee or wine or other commodities. And wars can impact on it. So some trade routes might become unreliable if these ports are conquered. So it's very dynamic. It will change from game to game, or what's the road that coffee will take, or each one of these goods. And as the game evolves, they will evolve with the game. So it's a quite interesting system to see changing as the years go by, empires appear and fall.
Very nice. One thing I just realized, I've been presumptive. Your mod is so like well known and well established that I forgot that there can be people who don't know what this mod is. So actually, let's circle back for a second here. What is After the End? For those that don't know, the couple dozen of them maybe that exist. What is this mod?
So After the End is a post-apocalyptic mod. It's a world it's a setting that went through the event centuries ago and has rebuilt itself from the ashes. So so it's not like, Mad Max where you have like, guys in football gear scavenging the wreckage of the old world. That was far in the past. People have built a new world, and you're leading a dynasty through this strange new world that has echoes of modernity.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds a very accurate and a very cool description. I loved playing After the End. I did a video forever ago where I reformed like the American presidency and just lots of cool stuff that you guys put in here. Are there any questions from chat so far that you've seen that you're interested in answering? 'Cause if not, I have more questions, but let me know if you see anything you like. I'll take that as a no. Based on the silence, I'll take it as a no.
Sorry, you're
That's
cutting
okay.
off on.
Oh, probably because I'm
My,
loading
uh,
You're
CK3.
cutting off on my end.
So
as
sorry.
well.
Okay, I'm loading CK3 right now, and that's probably why. I'm trying to launch the game. So getting a lot of cutting off.
Yeah, I remember
bad.
your video actually. And seeing you stream like sub modding as well, that was really cool. A lot of us, me in particular, I got into After the End through sub modding. So seeing new people like get into that and appreciate the setting as like something that they can contribute to rather than just something that they consume, that's always awesome to see.
Very cool. And yeah, so sorry about the mic cutting out. I'm gonna see if I can make it better by just focusing on like the Discord window instead of focusing on CK3. But I was gonna ask, like, people are asking a lot about the range government type, and they're asking how it's gonna interact with nomads. But I saw that that's kind of a future thing based on the trailer anyway. It looks like that's in the future, is the nomadic government stuff. But do you have anything to say about ranges and nomads and that kind of thing?
Null is probably the best to talk about that too.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we are still working on studying how exactly we are going to integrate these mechanics. With the new herds, we already have some systems, so we might see things like cattle drives in the future, but we still didn't fully define how ranges will work. But you can be sure that we will have nomads. We already had an older version of nomads actually before Paradox implemented them. So we are integrating the new system. on nomads, but for range, we are still studying what would be the best implementation.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, no, a diplomatic answer, a reasonable answer. I think you guys do so much work for this mod. Like when I played it, I remember I was thinking like there's probably going to be like a flavor for just a couple of different places, but like the whole map is truly decked out. It's really, really impressive. Trying to think what else I can ask. I mean, I have a question that's kind of close to my heart that I want to ask, so I'll just ask it now while you guys maybe think of what questions from the chat you want to answer. I'm from Vancouver, as some of you might know, and you guys did, in my opinion, an excellent job actually of representing some of the local cultures in the whole Lower Mainland. So thank you for that. But I wanted to ask, okay, the long shot here. I know there's no reason why this would be the case, but is there any content coming for the Sikh Punjabi population of the Lower Mainland anytime soon? Maybe, perhaps one day.
I'll answer that actually.
Sure.
For there, right now we're kind of one of the things that we're working on behind the scenes, because we've got a lot of different plates spinning, is stuff for Cascadia, particularly the Gaians and like the conflict with the Haida and all of that stuff, and undoubtedly some of that will spill over to Vancouver and the Sikh religion. Anything particular for it? Not really at the moment, but we are actually working on that area and sort of brainstorming what we want that to look like.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll come on the team and I'll try to be like the Vancouver cultural connection or something. I don't know, because
No, that's actually
forever.
one thing we kind of wanted to advertise, is that right now we have a fan contribution like forum. So anyone, like, no commitment, can like just upload whatever files they want to, and if they meet the like quality standard, we're more than happy to implement them. So you don't have to be on the dev team to like contribute. There have been so many awesome coat of arms that have been given to us by the community that we've implemented, and we'd love to do that with more things. DNA, events, decisions, just whatever people want to make.
So cool. Yeah, I remember I lost my mind when I first launched the mod and saw that you guys actually had representation for the Punjabi people in Vancouver and in Surrey. I was like, damn, I didn't, because I consider it to be such a, like, you have to be from here to know about like this subculture, but you guys actually got it in there. So I just wanted to point out how impressed I was by that. But anyway, any questions from chat that you guys came across that you'd like to answer? Or else I'll just keep asking whatever I want.
If you can ask the questions from the chat, none of us trust
Oh,
our
sure.
internet enough to have it running at the same time.
I've been
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at the chat actually.
Oh, go ahead then. Yeah, if you have anything that got your interest.
Let's see. The Australia mod's actually already out. You can play it on. You can download it from Steam, and I believe they have a slot tomorrow to answer
do,
that
yes.
one question.
Yeah, yeah. Midge is covering the Australia mod, if I remember correctly, and that is tomorrow. Yes, looking forward to that one. I don't know anything about Australia, so it'll all be new to me, I guess. But I guess there'll be kangaroos. But yeah. Let me see, what other questions are there. If anything comes to your mind, go ahead. I'll be browsing as well.
I guess one thing that we can talk about that's sort of foreseeable future without a question is that as part of the Nomad stuff that we're doing, it's very likely that we'll have a remapping complete for the Southern Cone by then. We're not 100% sure, and we're not going to rush it, but it's very likely that Argentina and the surrounding area there is going to get a lot of special attention during the Nomad update.
One question I
I'm just
have,
gonna
oh, sorry, you go ahead. If you have a question, go ahead.
No, I just recognized someone. Shout out to Weebkin.
Hell yeah, Weebkin. I see them in chat as well. I was gonna ask, when you guys make these, like, so for example, one thing I'll point to that's a really funny thing is like in the Falklands, there's like a British like culture and British religion over there, right? And that's like a fun reference to the Falkland Island, of course, right? But when you guys are making content for this mod, what do you do to like find what you want to do? Like in the sense of what inspiration do you try to, take? Because obviously there's no history for this. You're making up the history, you could say. Where does that come from?
It varies a lot on the dev that's doing it, but generally the first thing we're going to do is try to understand the people that we're representing. Even if we don't do it one-to-one, we generally want to have a good idea of the major themes and character of the place that we're doing. So for the Falklands, a lot of their identity is tied to surviving the war with Argentina. So having a religion and culture that sort of evokes that's necessary to be able to characterize the Falklands correctly. So that's the main thing that we start with, is wanting to, if not represent it as it is in real life, represent like the basic theme of a place.
Huh.
Okay. Cool.
Potato Lord, we've been discussing that, and there might be some off-map visitors at some point using the adventurer mechanics.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, red coat invasion. I'd love that. Like a sunset invasion, but in reverse. Very cool. I'd like to talk a little bit more now about this new trade system you guys have come up with. So, when you were making it, like I forgot how many trade goods there were in the trailer. What was it, like 12? I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah. So, when like, what was your process for deciding which goods would get to be trade goods and which would kind of just be like in the background? Because presumably there are more than 12 goods that exist in the new world, right? But go ahead.
There are, for sure. At the beginning, we were focusing on the traditional commodities that were used in Americas. So coffee, sugar, tobacco, cocoa, all of these were actually produced, so they were a given. But we try to focus on those that would be unique for certain regions. So, for example, we didn't add furs because they can be obtained in various regions of the map, and we didn't add salt for the same reason. We also try to focus on things that would be possible to be carried over long distance on boats. So we don't want something that's too heavy, and we also didn't want something that on itself would be something valuable. So, for example, gems or other precious metals. So we try to find a balance between things that historically were produced as commodities and that had these cool geographical localizations where they actually happened. I think if you move to the commodity map mode, you can even see how they are distributed over the world.
See.
And basically it pushes people from moving things from one end of the world to the other.
Right, and are there bonuses for having longer trade routes?
It depends from
Longer trade
which
routes
part.
are actually they're more expensive.
Got it.
So it's
Okay.
better to import from like far away and then export to somebody close. At least with how the modifiers work right now. That's obviously one of the reasons that like we want to advertise it and get people playing it, is to find, where things are going wrong.
And it also places some regions in a focus. For example, the Guianas, which usually are not played that much in North or South America. They are very important in this case because without them, you can't really reach South America from North America, vice versa. We need some stop ports. So it's not that it's useful to have a long trade route, but without it, it would be impossible to import yerba mate, for example, all the way to North America.
Cool. One person's asking what the merchant gameplay is like. How would you describe it?
At the moment, I would say it's pretty basic. You're basically always looking for opportunities and places that you can sell, which means focusing on other merchant republics. In terms of the like traveling to make deals, that's something that we're still in the early stages of, but that is definitely going to be something that is a big part of it. So hopefully we'll have your character, moving around, seeing other cultures, talking to different people, and setting up these businesses.
Cool. Okay, that's something to sort of plan for the future, I guess. I like that a lot. What's I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what I can even ask about this. I mean, to me, there's so much I could ask that it almost provides paralysis, where it's like, what do I ask about? I mean, like, do you guys when you arrange for like mod updates, do you have like a sort of system where you have like flavor packs and like large expansions, and do you like organize your updates in that way?
Not particularly at the
Okay,
moment. It's very actually one thing that is kind of old school about the team is that basically people just make what they want. So you know
Got it.
that everything you're seeing is like somebody's baby. It's somebody's passion project. That does mean we can be a bit inefficient in getting things done. But in the end, everything you see, we really do deeply care about and want people to enjoy.
Right. Okay. Because if you had said yes, I would have asked like what's kind of the theming for the next expansion that's going to be in line with All Under Heaven. Because I assume when All Under Heaven comes out, that's going to be a really big thing for you guys. Do you have any stuff you want to reveal that's maybe coming with All Under Heaven?
Yeah, we do have a little picture to go with that.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can show that on screen.
Well, that's pre All Under Heaven.
Oh yeah,
That's
actually,
for All Under Heaven. The two places that we're looking at the most that we obviously can't say until we have the DLC, but it is highly likely that a lot of the All Under Heaven content will be going to Brazil and California.
That makes sense. Those are like the empires. That checks out.
Yeah, they're the most bureaucratic empires. The government mechanics are going to fit very well. Back in the CK2 mod, Brazil was basically the China analog. It's not going to be 1-to-1. Don't expect an exact port, but a lot of the stuff is going to be reused for Brazil and inform what we make there, which Null can also talk about.
Yeah, especially many of the mechanics that will be there on our Under Heaven are already in some form or another in after the end. So we have some examinations, we have the factions, the bureaucrats, and military types of vessels. Many things, of course, both Paradox and us, we were basing this partially on Chinese history, in our case also on Brazilian history. So we were basing on the same sources. We hope that what they are implementing is also very resonant with our world and we can adapt it. So improve. Many of our systems are not that deep, and probably we will have many more interesting things to present once we have All Under Heaven. But again, we need to wait a little bit more and see what exactly we will have in this expansion.
For sure. So it seems like in that case, then you guys are kind of more focused on adding in the things from the things that came with Cons of the Steppe, right? And that's the big like range, home on the range type updates. Very curious to see what you guys do with that. Yeah. What do you got? Let me
That's
know.
what we're focused on right now, is just getting a new update out as soon as we can before All Under Heaven. We're pretty confident about that, but in terms of exact date, we don't have anything else. And also just picking up little bits and pieces of stuff that we missed. Like right now, I've implemented some roads to power stuff for Mexico that was kind of not taken care of. So because that's the admin government, there's some new stuff for Mexico related to adapting the Byzantium content, including a new trait.
Cool. Okay. I'm really looking forward to what you guys do with the range governments. I'm like, how do you guys think? So one thing I'm curious about, this is like a more of a world building question, I guess. The nomads in base CK3 are all about herd, right? So like the horses and the cattle and stuff. In this post apocalyptic world, has there been like a resurgence of horses and of like other like herd like creatures that can serve as a herd for a potential nomadic nation?
That's something we've considered a bit. I know that right now we're focused on getting in terms of adapting the nomad content, we've got like TPs and like wagons and art assets to like make the yurts look different. We have focused a lot less on changing the yurt buildings to make it more unique. In the long term, I think that definitely bison, maybe water buffalo for South America, those sorts of things are things that we could think of in terms of flavor. But at the moment, the main thing that you're going to get out of the Cons of the Steppe update is Cons of the Steppe, but in North America with North American art.
Right.
And South American art.
Yes,
Sorry.
of course, yes, of course. You could do llamas for the Inca or something. That'd be kind of cool.
And of course, we also have our equivalent of Genghis Khan for the Americas. We actually have already implemented this in the current patch. It's not using the new mechanics yet, but if people have heard about Plurgus, they might have a surprise late gaming after the end.
Ooh, okay, interesting. I'm
The,
very curious to see what that is.
the word of Louis Riel shall spread all over the Americas.
Oh no, not Louis Riel. Why him of all people? I'm aware of Louis Riel because of course I'm Canadian. But
We're
why
big
what?
fans of on the dev team. We're big fans of Louis Riel.
Okay.
Big fans of his weird religious stuff, which is
Mhm.
the basis of Exovedate, something that I personally worked on. So he's a fun character, and we like him a lot.
Right. Okay. Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
I see this guy David Rene the Pious. He seems to be related to this
Yeah,
idea.
he's a bookmark character. That's another
Yeah.
thing that we've been working on lately is actually expanding content for our bookmark characters and the characters of the week. Like right now, one of the from back when this was the CK2 fan fork, one of the first characters that kind of got added there was Levi the Liberator, and he's got an event now. He's got 2 starting events and some title history lore, so he's got flavor.
Very cool. Okay.
yeah. Back in the CK2 days, actually, we had a member of the Métis, what is it? The like cultural organization actually contribute to the mod. That was cool back in the day.
That is really cool. Yeah. How often do you guys work with members of of local communities to kind of make the stuff you're going for here?
Pretty much literally whenever we can.
Yeah, makes sense.
We will try and get their input, and it's invaluable. Even for places that seem mundane, having somebody who understands the local culture and understands what we're trying to do and can help us adapt it for the setting, we want that whenever we can. And if we could have more of that, we would be very, very happy.
You guys hear that in chat? If you have knowledge of a particular community somewhere in any of the Americas, now's your chance. Anyone living on I don't know, in Greenland, want to contribute to the culture there or something? Just join the Discord. I assume you guys are very open to new people just joining and just trying to make things. And you said you seem to have a very decentralized modding community, so people love
Yeah.
to just make things and contribute it. Yeah, okay.
Especially with the new fan contribution system, we really want people to be able to come in, give what they want and make what they want to see in the mod, and if they want to keep working, if they want to join the dev team properly, they can. But at the end of the day, it's a hobby project, and after the end, more than a lot of different communities, because it's not an existing like IP. It thrives on people being passionate in our community. So, we try to make that a major part of how we run things is, using our community.
For sure. Okay. Well, we have about another 15 minutes or so. Well, I'm going to say more like 10 because I got to outro the stream, of course. But is there anything that you guys want to make sure it gets across to the people that are here right now that I'm missing? Because, I'm not the perfect interviewer. Anything coming to mind?
We have a fan fiction writing contest going on if people want to do that. It's themed around, horses and the Great Plains. That's something we
Pride.
can do. And Pride, yes.
Ooh, very nice. Yeah, you guys are a very kind community. I've noticed. I'm in all these discords and stuff, and you guys seem like very welcoming of everyone, and that's really really nice. Glad to see that.
Yeah,
Shout out
we
to the
we have
moderation
many
team.
we have
Mm-hmm.
many devs who are members of the LGBTQ plus community, members of minority groups, and so we're welcoming when we appreciate the work that they do for the mod.
Very cool. Okay. What are we thinking in terms of like, is there any particularly ambitious idea that any of you here have that you're currently working on that you want to tease a little bit? Besides, I guess the Nomad stuff we already covered.
For me personally, it's probably going to be more stuff for Mexico.
Okay.
I'm probably going to get a event chain set up for La Cucaracha up in what is it, Altiplano. I hoped that I can rework the struggle to be a lot better because right now it's sort of just a port of the Iberian struggle, and we
Mhm.
want to make it more particular. starting events. Just I want to do more with Mexico, and that's probably where you can look at in terms of Mexico is going to change a lot over the next few months.
Very exciting. Okay. Any other ambitious ideas from the other developers here?
I think, like Arca said before, we also really want to complete that rework on the Southern Con. It's a very interesting region. We have like the gauchos, which are like South America cowboys. We have multiple different indigenous cultures, settled ones, different terrains, and I think people are not very used to that region. So I really hope that once we rework it with its proper representation, it will be one of the better areas to play with different governments, with different things happening around it, and some deep sources as well. So yeah, stay tuned for when we finally manage to finish reworking that area.
Very cool. Very awesome. Okay. Well, I think at this point, it was very nice talking to you guys, but we're kind of heading up on the wrap up here. I hope that you got across everything you wanted to say. I'm a little bit like I'm not a good interviewer, okay? I'm trying my best here, but I hope that you guys felt listened to and were able to say things you want to say. I'll say to the community, please join the After the End Discord. It's a really nice community, and for those that want to get into modding, modding a submod can be a very nice way to start, because you can be very small and you can work with like people who are very experienced with the mod. They're very friendly over in that Discord, and I highly recommend that you check it out. So please do that. And if you want to have your culture represented in the mod and you don't know how to mod, you can always come in there as like a cultural ambassador, I guess you could say, and just offer some ideas, and people are very friendly. So give it a shot, and I hope you guys check the mod out. It's really good. I've played this one quite extensively. It's really good.
I started out as working on a submod, so
there you go. There it
Yes,
is.
thank you for having us. We appreciate the interview. We like to talk about the stuff that we do, and we're glad that we're able to share that.
Awesome.
Also, might expect a new project from me in the future. It's out of this world, is all I'll say.
Out of this world.
Shout out
of
to
course.
Galley.
Okay. Very cool. Anyway, I do have to go now. I'm running over time. I'm getting yelled at by the people in the background. They're telling me that I'm going over. I must go now. But thank you so much, guys, for talking to me, and I look forward to seeing more of your work in the future.
Thank you. We enjoyed it.
For sure. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. We're hitting the end here. We're hitting the end. We got to end things off here. I know you guys love me so much. You wanted to see more. There is more to see, though. Keep in mind, the day is not over. The day is not over, okay? Let me show you what we got upcoming next. Boom. My best friend ever in life, Generalist Gaming, he is going to be hosting, okay, the next ModCon show. Now, before we go over there, because it's starting in, I think, like 10 minutes. I think it's literally starting, like, in 10 minutes, okay? So it's happening pretty soon. Moderators, feel free to start linking it in the chat if you want to. You can also go into the description and go to the modcon.xyz link, and there'll be a list of all the streams there, and you can find a stream up there. But yes, feel free to go and check it out there, okay? I want to say thank you so much to everyone that was watching. Thank you, whether you donated or not, to WMF. Thank you just for watching and being here and just enjoying the mods. I will say that now, okay, if you want to throw any last minute donations to make me look good, go ahead and throw them in now. I'm just saying, guys, okay? If you donate money, there's a dual purpose to it. It's a good cause, and it makes me look good. There it is, okay? So feel free to. But thank you so much to everyone that was featured on. It was a great honor to be your host today. I am blessed. I am truly blessed to have been able to do this for you guys. And I hope that you guys really enjoyed watching. Hope I did a good job. I know I was a little disorganized, okay? Look, anyone that knows my channel, you know how I am, okay? This is like 2,000% more organized than I've ever been. So be grateful you got any kind of organization. But yeah. I was thinking about doing a meme segment at the end of the ModCon, at the end of my stream, where I would try to launch all the total conversion mods all enabled at the same time. But I don't think we have time for it, because it'd probably take more than half an hour to load it. So instead, I'm going to tell you to head over to Generalist's stream to watch the Victoria 3 section of ModCon. I got the Imperator section. He gets the Victoria 3 section. Congratulations to him. Please check out Generalist. He's really cool. I love him. We are lovers in real life. I'm joking. That's not true, but I wish it was. And he's a really cool guy. So please do check out his stream. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all probably in chat in general stream. I'm definitely going to be in chat. So yeah. Peace out, people. My camera didn't go away. Dude, look, I'm so bad at this. Dude, I'm going to retire. It's over. Never mind. I'm done. Never streaming ever again. The camera didn't even go away. See you later.